Chapter 321. Matters Within. Old man Jian, actually, retrieving your dawn is quite easy, Wang Hao said with a slight smile. I have a skill in divination, called the Lu Ren Divine Numbers, which can predict a person's fortune, disasters, life, old age, sickness, death, and even find lost items and treasure. Lu Ren Divine Numbers. Jian Taifeng furrowed his white brows and pondered for a moment, realizing that he had never heard of it. Liao Yunchuan sneered disdainfully, tricks of charlatans common among street fortune tellers. You think we would believe that? Really? Wang Hao's fingertips began to move quickly. Let's see, Liao Yunchuan, 5 days ago at night, you messed around with a call girl, and when her period came, you still didn't let her be, insisting on driving through a red light. You're really a beast. Liao Yunchuan's face changed dramatically as he exclaimed, how could you know? Before he could finish, Liao Yunchuan quickly realized and immediately shut his mouth, not daring to continue talking nonsense. Wang Hao chuckled, as the primary level of Lu Ren Divine Numbers could predict every detail in an ordinary person's life. However, it could not predict the life of a martial artist, but still, it could easily deduce some small deeds they had done. At these words, the rest of those present immediately started a buzzing discussion. Is this real or fake? I feel it's true. Back at the ancient ruins, it was with the Lu Ren Divine Numbers that Wang Hao managed to enter the palace. If the Lu Ren Divine Numbers are connected to the ancient ruins, their origin must be extraordinary. It must be some ancient divine skill with such miraculous effects that would make sense. Just now, Mr. Liao already admitted it. It seems the Lu Ren Divine Numbers can indeed predict life and death, fortune and misfortune, even locating treasure. I just didn't expect Mr. Liao to be that kind of person. Even if a call girl isn't decent, he shouldn't have acted like that. I always thought he was a gentleman, but it turns out he was a hypocrite. People from the presidential mansion are all hypocrites, saying one thing to your face and another behind your back. There is actually such a miraculous method of calculation in the world. Interested, Jian Taifeng eagerly said, in that case, help this old man find out where the dawn is now. Wang Hao rubbed his fingers, saying with a troubled look, Old man Jian, although we have been friends for years, this matter of payment still can't be neglected. Ling Xiao and Gu Yang hung their heads, finding it unbearable to watch. Calling out the thief while himself extorting money, the marshal was acting utterly shameless. You cheeky kid really have something, but I like it, Jian Taifeng laughed. As long as you help this old man get dawn back, the person who stole the dawn will be handled by you. Handled by me? Wang Hao curled his lip, Old man Jian, you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, as if I couldn't see through you. Jian Taifeng stroked his beard with a smile, even though wool is from the sheep's body, this old man can help you shear the sheep. Really? Wang Hao's spirits instantly lifted. Jian Taifeng extended his palm, if you don't trust me, we can make a vow with a palm strike. No need. Wang Hao waved his hand and then said with a righteous air, as a marshal of the military department, I uphold justice. To capture these petty criminals is my duty. Ahem. No sooner had his words fallen, than everyone in the audience was instantly choked, feeling like they'd been had. They had all seen shameless people, but such shamelessness, they really had never seen. Ling Xiao and Gu Yang quietly gave Liao Yunchuan a sympathetic look. Now with Jian Taifeng backing Wang Hao, given Wang Hao's shameless nature, he would surely fleece the fattest sheep. And at this moment, Little Spider had already made it into Liao Yunchuan's room, sliding the Dawn automatic gun under the bed. Except this Dawn automatic gun was not the real deal, but a high-quality counterfeit that Wang Hao had exchanged for 10 sin points from the system. It looked and functioned exactly like the real thing, but it only had a 2-month expiry date. It was like the time when Guan Yingzhi came to demand the sharp light greatsword, and in the end, Wang Hao gave him some street stall knockoff. The only difference was the street stall goods only lasted 5 days, but this high-quality counterfeit had a lifespan of 2 months. That extra time was considered a reward from Jian Taifeng for helping him take advantage. Thinking of this, Wang Hao couldn't help but sigh inwardly that he was still too kind. At this time, Wang Hao, holding a compass, led a group of people to Liao Yunchuan's room door. Wang Hao, what is the meaning of this? Liao Yunchuan was furious, this bastard dared to frame him so brazenly. Wang Hao innocently shrugged his shoulders, I'm just following the guidance of the Lu Ren god's divination, which led me here. Ling Xiao and Gu Yang shook their heads, wearing expressions that said they had seen this coming. However, when the two noticed Jian Taifeng's expression, they were immediately taken aback, seeing that Jian Taifeng also seemed as if he expected this all along. As expected, the older the ginger, the spicier. Ling Xiao suddenly realized that Jian Taifeng must have doubted Wang Hao from the start, for who else but Wang Hao would have the guts to steal the dawn under his watch. But without evidence, Jian Taifeng could do nothing to Wang Hao. In the end, he had to lure Wang Hao with a tastier cake to make him willingly hand over the dawn. When Liao Yunxuan's door was opened, Wang Hao pointed under the bed, "Old man Jian, what you're looking for, the dawn, is down there." "Impossible, my room wouldn't have the dawn." Liao Yunxuan, fuming, rushed to the bed and flipped it over. Whoosh whoosh. The next second, a collective gasp of realization sounded throughout the room. Underneath the bed, there were indeed many sketches of Li Yuniang, with the dawn among these sketch works. "Oh my, I never would have imagined our president's son turned out to be gay, and he's into the military department's Li Yuniang." Wang Hao took a step back, looking frightened. "Pervert." Xia Weiwei looked disgusted, deciding that if Liao Yunxuan dared to harass her again, she would have to tear him apart. Li Xian and Shuek Yunqin gave Xia Weiwei a disdainful look, as they too liked taking advantage of their own kind, yet now they were calling Liao Yunxuan a pervert, truly some god-level logic. Jian Taifeng spoke coldly, "Liao Yunxuan, what do you have to say for yourself?" Startled awake, Liao Yunxuan quickly explained, "Senior Jian, it really wasn't me. It must be someone trying to frame me, you can't believe a traitor's words." Wang Hao shook his head and sighed, "Does saying so much help, young man?" Caught red-handed, the right choice would be to pay up and get out. Jian Taifeng's eye twitched, and he gained an even deeper understanding of brazen shamelessness. At the same time, he couldn't help but lament, the shamelessness knows no end. What puzzled Jian Taifeng was how exactly Wang Hao managed to place the dawn under Liao Yunxuan's bed. If Wang Hao had intended to frame Liao Yunxuan from the beginning, it didn't make sense, as there was no deep grudge between them. Could it be that the dawn really wasn't stolen by Wang Hao but by Liao Yunxuan? Did Liao Yunxuan have that kind of courage? Unable to figure it out, Jian Taifeng decided not to waste time thinking about it any longer. It would be better to catch the person red-handed and close the case early. Chapter 322. Senior Jian, this really wasn't my doing. Liao Yunxuan's head broke out in a cold sweat, panic-stricken. If Taifeng didn't believe him, wouldn't his reputation be utterly ruined? At the same time, Liao Yunxuan realized that Wang Hao was simply his nemesis, and the kind that crushed him to death at that. You see, his mission this time was to take the treasure from Wang Hao back to the president's residence. But due to Taifeng's appearance, they ended up losing a courage battleship just on meeting Wang Hao. Afterward, his pursuit of Xia Weiwei was meant to forge a good relationship for his future as president, but to his shock, Xia Weiwei had already been charmed by Wang Hao much earlier. Just now, Wang Hao had unleashed carnage left and right, resulting in heavy losses of martial arts sect experts for their presidential residence. Furthermore, with the combat power Wang Hao had demonstrated, which exceeded human limits, he figured the chances of taking the treasure from Wang Hao back were practically nil. If he lost even more at this point, he was certain to be killed by his old man when he returned. Facing this situation, it wasn't just a case of losing one's wife and soldiers, this was complete suppression, with no chance of turning the tables. All this talk is useless. I don't want much, just compensate me with 20 inheritance crystals and we'll call it even. Wang Hao gave Liao Yunxuan a look that said he was getting a great deal. 20 inheritance crystals. The crowd gasped in shock. Wasn't Wang Hao asking for too much? It was common knowledge that the inheritance crystals were the lifeblood of the president's residence. Other forces considered obtaining even one as hard as reaching the heavens, yet here was Wang Hao demanding 20 all at once. Was he not joking? Taifeng stroked his beard and chuckled, "You sure you want the inheritance crystals, you rascal?" Gu Yang hurriedly interjected, "Elder Taifeng, the marshal is just joking, why would he ask for inheritance crystals?" "Young Gu Yang, you've only followed him for so long, yet you defend him like this." Taifeng shook his head in disappointment. Gu Yang flashed an apologetic smile and quickly approached Wang Hao, whispering, "Marshal, inheritance crystals are the lifeline of the president's residence, they only come in, never out. If you demand inheritance crystals, they'll immediately disown Liao Yunxuan with a public declaration. So, you can't ask for the inheritance crystals, ask for something else instead." "That can't be." Wang Hao expressed his doubt, regardless of everything, this guy is still the president's son. They wouldn't just abandon him like that, would they? Gu Yang lowered his voice, Marshal, the president's residence isn't a single-line transmission, the Liao family has many branches. If one branch breaks, others will take its place, so they really don't care about a Liao Yunchuan. Wang Hao shook his head in disappointment. All right then, I'll just take 3 courage ships. 3 courage ships? The onlookers exclaimed in shock. This was too much. Gu Yang tugged at Wang Hao. Marshal, I heard that you already have 1 courage ship, and you've claimed another just recently, and now you're asking for 3 more. That's 5 in total, are you sure you can afford them? Wang Hao waved his hand dismissively. No problem, these expenses are trivial. Gu Yang looked puzzled, completely baffled by Wang Hao's confidence. He had investigated Wang Hao's financial situation. Although Wang Hao owned 5% of the Skyfire Company's shares, this 5% wasn't from the arms market. The Chu family, to maintain complete control over the arms market, had divided the business into 2. One part was the core technology research and production line, and the other was the sales channels. The core technology was the foundation upon which the Chu family established themselves, their main focus, and it absolutely had to remain tightly controlled to prevent any mishaps. As for the sales channels, the Chu family typically wouldn't pay much attention to it. They preferred to let outsiders manage it, and this approach had gradually evolved into the current Skyfire Company. To put it simply, the Chu family produced weapons, then shipped them to Skyfire Company for sale, and Wang Hao was able to earn 5% profit from the markup. And the profit from this 5%, for the entire arms market, probably didn't even make up 1%, otherwise the Chu family wouldn't have let Wang Hao enter the arms market so readily. But even less than this 1% was more than enough to support 10,000 ace soldiers and 1 courage battleship. As for Dream Chasing Media, which Wang Hao had just acquired, its annual earnings were probably not enough to cover the maintenance cost of the courage for a single day. So when Wang Hao suddenly said he wanted to support 5 courage battleships, it left Gu Yang completely baffled as to where Wang Hao's confidence came from. 3 courage ships, that's nothing, Jian Taifeng waved his hand, obviously not taking such toys seriously. Cough cough. As soon as he finished speaking, Liao Yunchuan almost choked on the spot, feeling like weeping without tears, wondering if Jian Taifeng didn't have a shred of doubt. Had he really just dumped the blame on him so directly? At the same time, Liao Yunchuan also seemed to understand Li Yunyang's feelings a bit. He was very sure that the person who had framed him was Wang Hao. And Wang Hao must have done this because he pursued Xia Weiwei, triggering his protective attribute. Thinking this, Liao Yunchuan swore never to touch the women around Wang Hao again in his life. He didn't want to end up like Li Yunyang, wounded in the rear, in intense pain, with a disfigured face. Liao Yunchuan, although I helped you this time, saving you from old man Jian's torment, there's no need to thank me. Wang Hao patted Liao Yunchuan on the shoulder and consoled. Remember, after you go back, you must definitely kick that bad habit of stealing. As for your feelings for Li Yunyang, I can only silently bless you. Pfft. As soon as he finished speaking, Liao Yunchuan couldn't catch his breath and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, fainting on the spot. He simply couldn't imagine how there could be such a shameless person in the world. Clearly, all the bad deeds were committed by him, but the one being blamed was Liao Yunchuan. Yet despite this, the shameless man could still put on a face as if he were looking out for you and didn't expect thanks, truly making one feel enraged beyond belief. Ding dong, congratulations host for successfully stealing the dawn, obtaining 200,000 sin points. 200,000 sin points. Wang Hao's eyes shone brightly. Turns out that stealing treasures from old monsters could earn so much easier than all that fighting and killing. Old man Jian, remember to claim those 3 courage ships for me, I've got other matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving now. Wang Hao waved his hand and walked out, holding Xiangxiang's little hand. When Wang Hao came out, he saw a massive spaceship in the sky. That was the courage battleship entered into his service. Boss, it's so great you're all right. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao arrived excitedly at Sky Sword Villa in a small ship. Wang Hao nodded and waved to Gu Yang behind him. Let's go. Qian Wanyang quickly pulled Wang Hao aside and whispered, Boss, I've got news that the military department dispatched 6 courage battleships and brought 20,000 third-level mechas, preparing to ambush us in space. Where did you get this information from? Wang Hao asked with a stern face. Chen Yao hurriedly said, Boss, you should still remember your Earth fellow, Zhou Chao from the 3rd branch of Zihua University, right? He's one of the mecha warriors in this ambush operation. Wang Hao nodded, No wonder he had stayed here for a few days and hadn't seen a trace of the military department. It turned out they were planning to fight him in space. What should we do now, Marshal? Gu Yang asked. Wang Hao sneered, since the military department wanted to play, he would play along with these guys and see who would have the last laugh. Chapter 323 Tianma Star. Inside an apartment, Xi Rongxian hurriedly packed his belongings, ready to leave. He had just been staking out Sky Sword Villa when he saw Wang Hao fiercely killing left and right, which nearly scared him out of his wits. He couldn't imagine how an ordinary high school student from Earth, within just one short year, had not only become a marshal of the military department, the second largest shareholder of Skyfire Company, vice president of the Potion Guild, but also possessed such heaven-defying combat abilities. Of course, that wasn't the reason he was preparing to leave. The real reason was that he had sent a photo of Jian Taifeng to the Demon Lord, and the Demon Lord was so frightened that he immediately ordered a retreat, indicating that they, the DY terrorist organization, couldn't afford to provoke this person. Once provoked, the DY terrorist organization would definitely disappear from the Interstellar Federation. Those idiots from the intelligence department couldn't even find out about such an old monster. Good thing I wisely took a photo, otherwise I would really be reporting to King Yan right now, Xi Rongxian grumbled angrily. Actually, Xi Rongxian also understood that it wasn't entirely the intelligence department's fault. Even though their DY terrorist organization had the martial saint among them, it had never really developed due to being disfavored by various forces, thus, intelligence collection had always been challenging. Furthermore, with someone as high-ranking as Jian Taifeng, aside from the martial saint, few would recognize him. So, the current situation couldn't entirely be blamed on the intelligence department. A crash. At that moment, the door was abruptly kicked open. Who? Xi Rongxian was given a huge fright and quickly turned around, warily looking towards the door. When Wang Hao entered with Jian Wanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang, Xi Rongxuan's pupils shrank abruptly, feeling a deep sorrow. Was he going to die here today? Once inside, Jian Wanyang quickly moved a chair behind Wang Hao. Sitting down, Wang Hao lightly laughed, Xi Rongxian, we've known each other for a long time, it doesn't need to be this awkward, right? Wang Hao, what do you want? Xi Rongxian warily watched Wang Hao. He certainly did not believe that this murderous little fox came to reminisce. Nothing much, just want to collaborate with the Demon Lord through you, Wang Hao said with a smile. Collaborate? Xi Rongxian was stunned, wondering what Wang Hao was up to now. But collaborating with the DY organization was clearly not his decision to make, better to let the Demon Lord talk directly with Wang Hao. Thinking this, Xi Rongxian opened his smart bracelet, and the holographic image of the Demon Lord appeared. Xi Rongxian, what do you want from me? The Demon Lord asked. Demon Lord, it's not me seeking you, it's Wang Hao. Xi Rongxian shook his hands quickly, pointing at Wang Hao sitting there. The Demon Lord turned to look at Wang Hao and couldn't help but sneer, Wang Hao, you blew up one of my warships and severely injured my loyal subordinate, Withered Demon, and yet you still dare to seek me out. Wang Hao looked innocent, I can't blame me for this, Demon Lord. Who told you your battleship was so fragile? I only fired 3 missiles and it went down. Whose fault is that? 3 missiles. The Demon Lord was so angry he was jumping like thunder. Could that be 3 missiles? It was clearly 18, okay. Wang Hao waved his hand with disdain, you are really petty, hanging onto a broken battleship with no future. The Demon Lord felt he was about to explode. This kid must have come here to mock him? Their DY terrorist organization's budget was already limited. Even if the destroyed battleship wasn't a top-level one like the Courage, they would have to tighten their belts for a long time to afford another. How could they just let it go? All the people present silently bowed their heads. They were certain that if it weren't for the screen between them, the Demon Lord would have torn Wang Hao into pieces by now. Wang Hao, what exactly do you want with me? The Demon Lord asked coldly. Wang Hao smiled slightly, nothing much, I just want to cooperate with your DY terrorist organization. Cooperate? The Demon Lord nodded and asked, do you intend to kidnap for ransom, or to murder and silence? Wang Hao gave the Demon Lord a contemptuous look, I'm a decent person. Why would I do such things? I plan to invite you to do legitimate business. Do business? The Demon Lord twitched the corner of his mouth and yelled, Wang Hao, are you fucking kidding me? I'm a terrorist, a terrorist. What about being a terrorist? Wang Hao shrugged, who says terrorists can't do legitimate business? The demon lord was furiously mad. Wang Hao, I'm a terrorist with principles and integrity. Once a terrorist, always a terrorist. Wang Hao was stunned. This guy actually was more shameless than him, boasting about integrity as a terrorist. Qian Wanyang whispered, Boss, I heard that the DY terrorist organization is a bunch of lunatics who desire free slaughter, not to live quietly. Wang Hao nodded and said apologetically, Brother Demon Lord, I'm really sorry for just now. I insulted your professional integrity. Actually, we have another cooperation plan that definitely befits your status. How do we cooperate? Asked the Demon Lord coldly. Wang Hao chuckled, I'll take the legal route, and you'll take the underworld route. If we cooperate, what's money anyway? The Demon Lord showed interest, then how do you plan to cooperate? Wang Hao smirked, our cooperation is essentially about profit. I'll provide you some confidential information, you take your brothers to handle it, and once the job is done, we sit down and split the money. It's that simple. The Demon Lord scratched his chin and nodded, your analysis is thorough. It has always been because we don't have internal connections that every time we conduct a terrorist act, we're always passive. Just then, Xi Rongxian stepped forward, Wang Hao, your words sound good, but from what I know, you hold a high position but you really have no power, so how can you disclose internal news to us? Are you an idiot? Wang Hao scoffed, I already said it's a partnership, of course, you help me rise to power, and then I help you make money. As these words fell, everyone present was dumbfounded. After so much nonsense, this bastard was actually aiming to get something for nothing. The Demon Lord spoke coldly, our DY terrorist organization can't get involved in military department matters. Wang Hao smiled, you might not be able to get involved, but sometimes to gain power, you don't necessarily need to follow the official route. Taking a shortcut might be quicker. Haha. The Demon Lord suddenly burst out laughing, I like that you don't follow the official route, and I also feel that we could cooperate very happily. Of course, everyone who has ever worked with me has given a thumbs up and said it was good, Wang Hao said with a light laugh. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the two underlings, rolled their eyes. It seemed the partners they had seen previously indeed gave a thumbs up, but in the end, weren't they all sold out by Wang Hao? Chapter 324. In the pitch-black universe, Wang Hao's Courage battleship was speeding through space. Suddenly, 6 Courage battleships emerged from different directions, trapping Wang Hao's Courage battleship in the middle, immobilizing it. At the same time, these 6 Courage battleships swiftly activated space interference waves, preventing Wang Hao from initiating a space jump. And as the battleship's hatches opened, swarms of small mecha flew out like ants, hovering around Wang Hao's Courage battleship. One of those mecha happened to be piloted by Zhou Chao. Last time Wang Hao visited the Zhihua University 3rd branch, Zhou Chao performed a little play with him, which led to Wang Hao making a killing. Afterwards, Wang Hao gave him a dimension potion. Thanks to owning a dimension space and possessing strong spiritual power, Zhou Chao smoothly entered the military department and even gained attention from higher-ups. His cultivation soared and he is now a second-level martial arts sect. Since all major forces chose to use martial arts sect cultivation levels against Wang Hao this time, he was proudly selected. However, Zhou Chao kept in mind his achievements were attributed to Wang Hao, and so he discreetly sent a message to Wang Hao's subordinate. What Zhou Chao couldn't understand was, having sent the message to them, why did they still foolishly barge in? What on earth is Wang Hao planning to do? Zhou Chao puzzled over this. To say that Wang Hao was simply surrendering was something he refused to believe. There certainly must be another trick up his sleeve to ensnare others. Boom, boom, boom. Just then, cannon shells rapidly approached from the distance, viciously striking the 6 military department's Courage battleships. What's going on? Zhou Chao turned to look, only to see a dozen or so battleships surrounding them in the distance, bearing the insignia of the DY terrorist organization. Furthermore, the firepower of the DY terrorist organization obviously exceeded the range of the martial arts sect's attack power, reaching the level of a martial king. At this moment, aboard one of the military department's Courage battleships, a middle-aged man in a military uniform watched the video of the DY terrorist organization's spaceships with a cold gaze. This man was Han Xian, a general in the military department, in charge of the operation to capture Wang Hao. And before the operation, Guan Xingxiang had specifically instructed him to do his best to force Wang Hao to open fire and use those Star Sky missiles and Eastern missiles. That way, if Wang Hao were to be killed, the mishap could be glossed over. But before they could even provoke a fight, the DY terrorist organization launched an attack, and their firepower was so fierce. Were they challenging the might of the military department or what? Han Xian snorted coldly, these terrorists dare to challenge the military department so brazenly. Teach them a severe lesson. Yes, General. The soldier responded to the command and quickly sprang into action. In no time at all, the dark cannons on the 6 Courage battleships were all aimed at the DY terrorist organization's warships. Boom, boom, boom. The next second, a barrage of fire lit up the dark universe as countless cannons fired simultaneously. But just then, Han Xian saw a figure appear in front of the DY terrorist organization's warships. Spacewalk. Is that a martial saint? Could it be one of the 7 demons? Han Xian was so startled he broke out in a cold sweat. Regardless of the 7 demons' identities, just with the status of a martial saint, they were not an entity he could confront. And the weapons aboard the Courage battleships, at most, could deal 5th level damage, which might work against a martial emperor but absolutely stood no chance against a martial saint. Noisy. Amid the chilling gaze of the 7 demons, a cold light flashed. In the next instant, the entire universe fell silent. The missiles that had been fired vanished into the cosmos in an instant, as though they had never existed. Let's get out of here! Han Xian yelled out in terror, devoid of the courage to deal with such an ancient monstrosity. But even at full power, the 6 Courage battleships were unable to move an inch. We're done for, we've been locked on by the martial saint. Han Xian slumped into his chair, staring blankly at the approaching battleships of the DY terrorist organization. On the Courage battleship where Wang Hao was located, Qian Wanyang couldn't help but ask, "Boss, are you really not planning to take these 6 Courage battleships?" After Wang Hao negotiated a deal with the 7 demons, he informed them about the military department surrounding him, and expressed that he didn't want any of the 6 Courage battleships, just the 20,000 third-level mechas, as well as various weapons and ammunition. Thus, with a simple agreement, they used Wang Hao as bait to lure out the Courage battleships of the military department. "We already have 5 Courage battleships, any more and we really can't afford them," Wang Hao sighed. "We'll just let the DY terrorist organization take care of them for a while, and when we have the money, we'll get them back." Qian Wanyang rolled his eyes. He should have known already, with Wang Hao's character, how could he just give away 6 Courage battleships for nothing? Chen Yao silently mourned for the 7 demons for 3 minutes in his heart. Was this what it felt like to be cuckolded and still blissfully raising a child for someone else, only for the real father to come reclaim the child once they were almost grown? This surprise, this thrill, this bittersweet satisfaction, was sure to be something the 7 demons would never forget for the rest of their lives. Gu Yang scratched his head, somewhat puzzled by where Wang Hao's confidence came from, to take back these 6 Courage battleships from the hands of the DY terrorist organization. At this moment, the 7 demons had already confronted Han Xian. "What are you trying to do, 7 demons?" Han Xian anxiously asked. A cold smirk formed on the corner of the 7 demons' mouth. "Our DY terrorist organization is out of money for the new year, so we thought we'd borrow some from the military department." Han Xian's pupils constricted, and he shouted, "You want to rob the Courage battleships? Have you gone mad? The military department will not let you get away with this." The 7 demons laughed out loud. "Guan Xingxiang, that old tortoise, wiped out so many of my subordinates. It's only fair I collect some interest now. Besides, with these 6 Courage battleships at my disposal, I don't believe Guan Xingxiang would dare to start a major war." Han Xian felt doom approaching. Due to the despicable deeds of the DY terrorist organization, the Interstellar Federation and other major forces imposed a weapons embargo on them. Like the top-level Courage battleship, they simply couldn't be purchased by the DY terrorist organization. But now that the 7 demons had 6 Courage battleships, even the military department wouldn't dare to overlook this, right? After all, if a real battle were to break out, it would be far from a minor skirmish. And in the Interstellar Federation, such a level of battle is certainly not something that the major forces wanted to see happen. At the same time, Han Xian also felt a headache coming on. Originally, the higher-ups in the military department intended only to deal with Wang Hao, so they did not arrange for any experts to come. The highest commander was him, an admiral. But who would have thought that they would end up encountering the 7 demons, and just like that, the 6 intact Courage battleships were taken away. If this got out, the military department would surely be a laughingstock. Soon, the subordinates brought by the 7 demons took control of the 6 courage battleships. Meanwhile, Wang Hao's subordinates quickly transferred 20,000 third-level mechas, as well as the soldiers' equipment and all sorts of ammunition from the 6 courage battleships onto their own vessels. A substantial gain indeed. Chapter 325. In the pitch-dark universe. Inside the courage battleship where Wang Hao was. Gu Yang was pinned to the ground by a group of soldiers, letting out a harrowing scream. Nearby, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao couldn't help but inhale sharply at the sight of Wang Hao taking out a huge syringe, approaching Gu Yang with an evil smile, and then ruthlessly plunging it into Gu Yang's buttock, frantically drawing Gu Yang's fresh blood. "All right, stop shouting." Wang Hao, satisfied, filled a test tube with the blood, completely ignoring the half-dead Gu Yang. "Wang Hao, you're really good." Little White rubbed Wang Hao's cheek with its fluffy face. After Wang Hao had agreed on a collaboration with Chi Mo had laid out 2 conditions, one was for Little White's serum, the other was for the zombie virus antidote. Wang Hao didn't hesitate and immediately agreed. However, since Little White was his secretly developed ultimate weapon, he naturally didn't want to part with it, so he used Gu Yang's serum as a substitute. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao gave Gu Yang a sympathetic look, thinking if Chi Mo went back and used this serum to cultivate clone creatures, wouldn't Gu Yang suddenly have countless sons? Wang Hao patted Gu Yang on the shoulder, consoling him, "Brother Gu, your private life has always been messy, no one knows how many children you have out there already, having one more now is really no different from having a bunch, just consider it a way to glorify your ancestors." Pfft! Gu Yang burst out, was this really glorifying the ancestors? This was outright selling his sons. If his ancestors knew about this, they'd definitely jump out of their graves and drag him in. It was very clear to Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao, Wang Hao must be jealous of Gu Yang's past playboy lifestyle, otherwise, he wouldn't have trapped Gu Yang like this. At that moment, the doors to the courage battleship opened, and Chi Mo walked in. "Wang Hao, I've taken care of the task for you, where are my things?" Chi Mo narrowed his eyes, staring at Little White eating a carrot on Wang Hao's shoulder. If not for considering the long-term cooperation, he would truly have liked to snatch the rabbit away for thorough research. Wang Hao nodded and tossed the blood-red test tube to Chi Mo. "This is Little White's serum, and I've already sent you the zombie virus antidote." Chi Mo caught the serum and quickly activated his smart bracelet, displaying a very complex chemical formula and the required proportions of medicinal herbs. "I need to go back and study this antidote well, I'll be leaving now." Chi Mo dropped these words and swiftly turned to leave. Unable to resist, Qian Wanyang asked, "Boss, what does Chi Mo want with this zombie antidote?" "I know something about that." Gu Yang explained, "It's said that the DY terrorist organization obtained a fragmented potion formula in an ancient ruin. According to the formula, this potion was used by ancient humans on newborns, capable not only of opening dimension space but also increasing human physical constitution by 5 times. 5 times. Everyone present inhaled sharply, the ancient humans were too terrifying. Gu Yang sighed, "Unfortunately, the potion formula is fragmented. Although many forces have studied it, it was all in vain, only Chi Mo is still researching it, and what's more, he viciously uses living people for experiments." "PSH, what a joke, only one person left to do the research," Wang Hao scoffed dismissively. "I bet it's those hypocrites, considering their own reputations, who avoid getting involved and turn a blind eye, letting him struggle on his own." Gu Yang nodded in agreement, "Marshal, you're absolutely right. If the research fails, then he alone will bear all the blame. But if it succeeds, the major forces will immediately eliminate the DY terrorist organization and snatch the results of his labor." Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao shuddered. It was the first time they realized the struggle among the higher-ups was so dark, completely disregarding the lives of ordinary people. Why bother with these matters anymore? Let's first discuss the trouble those noble scions have been causing me lately. Wang Hao demanded. Qian Wanyang promptly reported, "Boss, recently, led by Guanxi, those noble scions have been causing trouble everywhere and even using your name." Chen Yao nodded, "According to my investigation, they are currently on a 5th-tier planet called Sophie Star where they're recruiting troops and buying up a lot of large companies, apparently making a lot of money every day." "Buying companies?" Gu Yang was stunned, "These spoiled brats are doing this." Qian Wanyang said cautiously, "Apparently, they are forcibly acquiring those profitable companies under the boss's name. I guess this was the idea of those noble lords." Wang Hao sneered coldly, using my name to acquire companies, they really have some nerve. At this, the three subordinates shuddered violently, they could all clearly feel that Wang Hao was furious and enraged, even. And with Wang Hao's lawless personality, those noble scions were definitely in for big trouble. Military Department Headquarters. A battered spaceship landed shakily. When a large group of soldiers advanced to inspect it, they were instantly dumbfounded. Inside this not-so-large spaceship, it was packed with 50 to 60,000 people, completely overcrowded, people crushing against each other, filling every gap possible. After Han Xian was pulled out of the spaceship, he headed straight for Guan Xingxiang's office seeking solace. Inside the office, Guan Xingxiang's expression was terrifyingly cold, damn that GMO, even daring to snatch our military department's battleships. With a morose face, Han Xian complained, Commander, it's all because Wang Hao tipped him off, which gave GMO the chance. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lost the 6 courage battleships. How the hell is Wang Hao messing with GMO again? Guan Xingxiang was at a loss, unable to comprehend what magic Wang Hao had stirring trouble while always finding a backer. Just the other day, he blew up a battleship of the DY terrorist organization, and today, he's in cahoots with them, tricking them utterly. Is this even humanly possible? What Guan Xingxiang found hardest to accept was that Wang Hao's spaceship broke down and just happened to end up on Tianma Star, where he met Jian Taifeng. And Jian Taifeng was quite taken with this guy, even helping him extort 4 courage ships from the presidential mansion, allowing Wang Hao's forces to gradually develop their combat power. Report, a soldier announced, Commander, we have intelligence that Wang Hao didn't go back to Tianbei University but headed to Sophie Star. Sophie Star. Guan Xingxiang frowned and scoffed coldly, trying to find trouble with Guan Shi, what overconfidence. Han Xian, immediately take your troops to Sophie Star and bring back all the treasures Wang Hao obtained from the ancient relics. Yes. Han Xian saluted and walked off. But Han Xian felt utterly dismayed inside. He really didn't want to deal with Wang Hao any longer, this guy had protections from both dark and light sides, and he confessed he just couldn't handle it. Chapter 326. Sophie Star, a 5th-level planet. A super-commercial planet of the Interstellar Federation, where even the smallest company could branch out across hundreds of planets. As the Courage battleship slowly descended, Wang Hao looked at the hurrying passers-by and muttered, seeing these people makes you understand what time is money truly means. Boss, I've found out that Guan Shi and his group are in a bar, Qian Wanyang reported. Wang Hao nodded, bring all our forces and follow me to this bar. All of them. Qian Wanyang was stunned, boss, we have 10,000 soldiers from the Ace Army, are we taking them all? Is 10,000 a lot? Wang Hao gave Qian Wanyang a disdainful look. Gulp, Qian Wanyang swallowed hard, a formula inexplicably appearing in his mind, Wang Hao's destructive power plus the destructive power of 10,000 Ace Army soldiers equals misfortune for the noble's sons and chaos on Sophie Star. Soon, on a bustling street, the hurried pedestrians suddenly stopped and quickly moved to the side of the road. A group of fully armed soldiers appeared, decked out in various high-tech equipment, following a young boy with orderly steps. Seeing this, the bystanders began to point and speculate. Which regiment's soldiers are these? I don't know, I've never seen them before. You see the equipment they're wearing? That's definitely Ace Army gear. Ace Army? The only 4 million soldiers in the entire Interstellar Federation. That's right, it's them, the lowest cultivation is Martial King, and their combat skills are top-notch, handling 20 opponents each with ease. These people are also Martial King level, do you think they are part of the Ace Army? Whether they are the Ace Army or not, I don't know, but I know who that leading young boy is. The leading young boy? The one with the rabbit? Wait, the rabbit. He is Wang Hao, the 5th Marshal of the Military Department. What is he here for? I guess he's here to punish his subordinates. I've heard many noble sons have been forcefully taking over companies using his name. Are these matters not managed by anyone? How to manage? They all have military ranks, who's going to do it? Ah, the saying commoners should not fight with officials truly is a timeless truth. But now that Wang Hao has come with such a grand presence, I expect there will be quite a show soon. I heard that Marshal Wang Hao fears neither heaven nor earth, those noble brats are in for some bad luck. I hope he kills those noble bloodsuckers and gives the common people some peace. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao looked puzzled. From what they knew of Wang Hao, he was known to cause national disasters, but serving justice for the people was definitely not his style. "Boss, it's that bar right ahead." Qian Wanyang pointed at a nearby bar named Scream. Wang Hao nodded and snapped his fingers toward the 10,000 soldiers behind him. Whoosh whoosh. Immediately, a small squad of soldiers quickly flooded into the Scream bar. Ah! Moments later, shrieks sounded as the soldiers escorted a group of disheveled young men and women out of the bar. Seeing this, the street's onlookers all burst into discussion. How shameless! Doing such things in broad daylight, it's absolutely licentious. These nobles' sons are too arrogant, not only forcefully taking over companies that others have struggled to establish, but even abducting respectable women. Are you sure these are respectable women? I was just saying, to let the marshal severely punish these scoundrels. Yes, Marshal, you must severely punish these scum. Support the Marshal, severely punish the social scum. Support the Marshal, severely punish the social scum. Guan Shi, flanked by soldiers, spoke coldly, Wang Hao, you're too arrogant. Sophie Star is not a place where you can cause trouble. Thud. Before he could finish speaking, Wang Hao stepped forward and kicked Guan Shi, sending him flying. Word is you've been using my name to buy up companies. Wang Hao said indifferently. Wang Hao, you're seeking death. Enraged, Guan Shi could contain his temper no longer, realizing that this wasn't Tianbei University's Mu's territory, rather, it was his own turf. Still not convinced. A chilly light flashed in Wang Hao's eyes as he drew a massive sword, and with a flicker of blade light, Guan Shi's arm soared into the sky. Ah! Guan Shi screamed miserably as blood spurted from his severed arm. The crowd twitched, utterly horrified that Wang Hao would go to such lengths, daring to dismember the army commander's grandson, Guan Xingxiang, in full view of everyone. How audacious! A loud shout came from afar, quickly followed by another group of people rushing towards them. It's General Han Xian. The noble youth accompanying Guan Shi looked at the newcomer with delight, as if seeing a savior. Han Xian felt a headache coming on. He had rushed here upon receiving orders from Guan Xingxiang, but he was still a step too late. Now that Guan Shi's arm was severed, how was he to explain this to Guan Xingxiang? Audacious! Wang Hao smirked coldly and snapped his fingers. Qian Wanyang, tell this man whether the marshal has the authority to handle his own subordinates. Clearing his throat, Qian Wanyang said, according to the military department's constitution, a marshal commands an army with absolute authority. Anyone who dares to question a marshal's orders can be executed on the spot. You heard him, I'm going to kill him right now. Wang Hao said, gripping his giant sword and stepping towards Guan Shi. Wait. Han Xian blocked Guan Shi, frowning, do you realize the consequences if you kill him? That's my concern, not yours. Good dogs don't block the way, get lost. Wang Hao swung his giant sword directly at Han Xian. Wang Hao, you're ruthless, but I'm determined to protect this man today, Han Xian scoffed, waving his hand to position his soldiers against Wang Hao's ace army. TCH, what use are these soldiers with only martial arts sect cultivation? Wang Hao scoffed, raising his hand high. Kill, kill, kill. Over 10,000 soldiers from Wang Hao's ace army, all with martial king cultivation, shouted mightily. Han Xian's face changed. Wang Hao, are you breaking the rules? TCH. Wang Hao flipped Han Xian the middle finger, I'm cleaning house right now, got no cultivation technique to deal with you all. Smarten up and scram, or I'll take you out too. Han Xian frowned deeply, his orders were to command the full army, not to engage personally. Of course, if he were to act himself, Wang Hao's men would be no match for him. However, this would surely infuriate Wang Hao, and no one knew what this madman might do afterward. Just then, a loud laughter erupted from the end of the street, the sound booming and vibrating eardrums. Ha ha, I've long heard that the fifth marshal, Wang Hao, is incredibly arrogant. Today I see it's no exaggeration. Chapter 327. The crowd turned toward the source of the sound and saw a man with the build of a tiger and a bear, his body rippling with muscles, approaching. His stride roared with explosive force, and particularly notable was his aura, which exuded the presence of a tiger descending from the mountains, imposing and vibrant. Uncle Jin. When Guan Shi saw the newcomer, he immediately reacted as if he'd seen a savior, tears welling up in his eyes as though he had been greatly wronged. Qian Wanyang came over to Wang Hao and whispered, Boss, this Marshal Suanwei, named Jin Wei, I've heard that whether in battle or in commanding troops, his style is the same, he overpowers his enemies with brute force. He's tough to deal with. Wang Hao nodded and said in a cold voice, Jinwei, are you trying to interfere with the affairs of my ace army? Jinwei burst into laughter, Wang Hao, that martial title of yours is just the great commander fooling kids. Don't take it too seriously. Give me some face today, and we'll consider the matter closed. Who the hell are you? Do I need to give you face? Wang Hao scoffed, don't talk about you, even if Guan Xingxiang, that old tortoise, comes, it won't help. If anyone dares to meddle, I'll launch 20 Dongfeng missiles right at their front door. The moment his words fell, the onlookers exploded in uproar. Holy shit, this fifth marshal is really arrogant. Not just arrogant, he's completely unbridled. He won't even give face to Marshal Suanwei and goes so far as to call the great commander an old tortoise. Impressive. 20 star sky missiles, just thinking about it makes my scalp tingle. Does he dare to launch them? I heard that a few days ago Marshal Wang Hao already launched 3. He might really go through with launching 20. It's like a cow flying in the sky, you have to look up to this guy. I think Wang Hao did nothing wrong. If even his own subordinates can't be disciplined, what kind of authority can he command in the future? But he should also know his own strength. Wang Hao's foundation is too weak. How can he compete with Marshal Suanwei? I support Marshal Wang Hao. Evil shall not prevail over good. Marshal Wang Hao, keep it up. We're behind you. Everybody, quiet down. Haven't you noticed Marshal Suanwei's face has gone black? Jinwei, breathing heavily, clenched his fists so tightly they crackled. To him, Wang Hao wasn't just refusing to give face, he was severely provoking his limits. If he could tolerate this, then there was no point for him to be in the military department anymore. Seeing Jinwei's expression, Wang Hao's 10,000 ace army troops went on alert, but internally they were extremely frustrated. They were graduates from the 4 major universities and had been comfortably completing missions in the Adventurers Guild. But not long ago, they received invitations from the 4 university chancellors, asking them to assist the 5th marshal, and even promised them a monthly salary of 50 million interstellar coins. Upon receiving the invitations from the chancellors, and with such a high salary offered, they rushed over without hesitation. But they ended up serving such a brazen master. Even though their combat strength was on par with the 4 great ace armies, the difference of 1 to 100 was still a fatal blow. Wang Hao, you're courting death. Jinwei roared furiously as a terrifying aura burst forth. But just as Jinwei was about to turn Wang Hao into a level 10 cripple, his pupils suddenly narrowed, focusing on a small token with the character for sword in Wang Hao's hand. This is the sword token of Senior Jian Taifeng. Jinwei instantly froze, unsure of why the sword token was in Wang Hao's hands, but he understood that if Jian Taifeng showed up, he would be utterly doomed. Because that man never followed the ordinary path. In his youth, he was a notorious playboy, adept in eating, drinking, and revelry, becoming more shameless with age. And he had also heard that, for some unknown reason, the man had taken up a liking for the sport of scamming. In any case, if anything had to do with Jian Taifeng, it would undoubtedly spell trouble, and enduring some humiliation was far better than provoking an old monster. Thinking about this, Jinwei snorted coldly, Wang Hao, I have other matters to attend to today, so I'll let you off the hook for now. After speaking, he flung his sleeves and turned to leave. At that moment, everyone at the scene was instantly dumbfounded. What just happened? Just now, it looked like a major battle was about to erupt, but why did it suddenly stop? Han Xian was also taken aback. He thought that once Jinwei arrived, he wouldn't have to deal with anything, but now, this guy actually got scared off by Wang Hao. So now, should he go forward, or should he not? If he went, even Jinwei had been scared off, wouldn't going up there himself be akin to seeking death? But if he didn't go, how would he explain it to Guan Xingxiang? Wang Hao didn't pay attention to the perplexed Han Xian. Holding his giant sword, he pointed at Guan Shi and asked indifferently, do you know where you went wrong? Guan Shi felt terribly wretched inside. Who the hell knew where he went wrong? He just wanted to quietly be a do-nothing scion, but suddenly the old man at home had ordered him to go buy some military rank, and as a result, Wang Hao threw a few level 4 grenades at him. If he hadn't paid up quickly, he might have ended up lying at Tianbei University. And now, his family had told him to acquire those companies in Wang Hao's name, claiming it was for the family's benefit and that he didn't have to worry about stirring public discontent. Yet now, his arm was gone, just like that, in complete bewilderment. It was all clearly not his fault, so why should he be the one to suffer? I shouldn't have used the marshal's name to buy out companies everywhere, Guanxi said with a despondent tone. Ah! Before he could finish speaking, Wang Hao kicked Guanxi and sent him flying. Wrong! Wang Hao snorted coldly. Using my name to acquire companies isn't wrong, but where are my dividends? Where is my red envelope? Do you really think you can hog it all for yourself? As soon as he finished speaking, the whole place fell deathly silent, and everyone felt an urge to curse their luck. This marshal had caused such a stir, and it turned out to be not for the people's sake but to join the ranks of the corrupt? Are you seriously not joking here? Guanxi's face turned pale as he pleaded, Marshal, if it was about this, you should have said so earlier. From now on, whenever I acquire a company, I will definitely give you a red envelope and include you in the year-end dividends. Wang Hao nodded and warned, remember, I'm famous for this, if I don't get my red envelope, I ensure you won't keep your life. If you have the guts, come and challenge me. I welcome it. Everyone present was dumbstruck. Was this really a marshal? Even threatening lives over red envelopes not received. This was like the epitome of a brazen, exceedingly greedy official, the kind that plunders from the people. Guanxi was so scared that he shook his head repeatedly, indicating that he wouldn't dare to challenge him and ensuring that the red envelopes and year-end shares would be delivered punctually. Even Wang Hao had instilled a deep sense of fear in him. After all, even Jin Wei, the legitimate marshal, was slighted by Wang Hao, so how could he, a minor character, expect any different treatment? Other than obediently following orders, what else could he do? Go home and find grandfather? He guessed that as soon as he went back to complain, his grandfather Guan Xingxiang might silence him on the spot, conducting a family purge on the grounds of losing the Guan family's face. So it was better to share some money with Wang Hao. Good for you, good for me, good for everyone. Ding ding ding. Just at that moment, the smart bracelets of all the soldiers present suddenly started ringing, causing the faces of all the soldiers to change dramatically, sensing that something significant had happened. Chapter 328. What's going on? Wang Hao's eyebrows furrowed. The soldiers' smart bracelets were all military versions. If they were ringing at the same time, something big must have happened. Could it be that someone was attacking the Interstellar Federation? Head back to headquarters now. Han Xian's complexion changed drastically as he waved his hand and dashed toward the Courage battleship, without any time to care for Wang Hao's affairs. The soldiers also didn't dare to delay, quickly forming ranks and leaving. Boss, I've received a message from Su Mu, the president. He's asking you to hurry back to Tianbei University, Qian Wanyang said urgently. Boss, I've received a message from young Master Chu Lei. He wants you to visit Skyfire Company when you have time, Chen Yao said anxiously. Military Department, Skyfire Company, Tianbei University, they've all sent out warning alerts at the same time. What on earth is happening? Wang Hao's brow furrowed. He didn't know what was happening, but something that could alert all these major powers must be serious. Everyone, board the battleship, we're leaving. With a wave of his hand, 10,000 soldiers quickly sprinted toward the distant Courage battleship. Guanxi, meanwhile, was helped to a hospital to have his arm reattached. And along the way, Guanxi kept instructing his subordinates to quickly prepare a big red envelope for Wang Hao. He certainly didn't want something like this to happen again. Inside the Courage battleship, Qian Wanyang, Chen Yao and Gu Yang were trying to figure out exactly what was happening. The voice of the system rang in Wang Hao's ear. Congratulations to the host for being identified as a corrupt official, embezzler, you have earned a total of 100,000 sin points. Only 100,000, far too little, Wang Hao scratched his chin, thinking about where he could collect red envelopes to spread his notoriety. Qian Wanyang said in a deep voice, Boss, I've figured it out. All the major powers have issued alerts because of an invasion by an alien race. Alien invasion. Wang Hao's brow creased. Chen Yao nodded vigorously, Boss, I've found out that the invading enemy is called the Dark Elves, and they come from the Tianluo constellation star system. Their civilization level is higher than that of our human race. Higher than the human race? Wang Hao murmured. Gu Yang frowned and said, according to historical records, the Dark Elves had attacked us before but were eventually repelled. However, with the current strength of the human race, we could be very passive. Passive? Wang Hao asked. Gu Yang nodded his head, his expression grave. When the Dark Elves attacked humanity in the past, we had the Milky Way and the Andromeda star systems. But now that we're divided, we could easily be defeated one by the Dark Elves. Qian Huanyang added, this shouldn't be too big of a problem. The intel I've received shows that the diplomatic corps of the Yaotian Federation has arrived, and it seems they are discussing an alliance between the two federations. If the two federations join forces, we will still have the strength to fight, Gu Yang said, though his face was still solemn. Is this dark elf race really that powerful? Wang Hao asked curiously. Gu Yang nodded emphatically. According to the information, the dark elves are very strong, twice as physically capable as the human race, and their technology level is higher, so it will be a tough battle for humanity to defeat them. Twice. Wang Hao pondered, with his current strength, he should be more than 10 times stronger than a human of the same level, right? Boss, I've just received a message. Guan Yingzhe has been urgently appointed to replace your father, the marshal. The 4 ace armies are already on their way to the border. Qian Huanyang's face changed drastically. The battle had come faster than they had expected. Wang Hao scratched his chin. Do you think if the war really starts, we'll be sent to the front lines? The 3 subordinates exchanged glances, then nodded in unison. With Marshal Wang Hao's status, where else would he be but on the battlefield? Would he be left at home to raise goldfish? If that's the case, then I must find a way not to go to the battlefield. Wang Hao frowned, thinking of ways to avoid being sent to fight. Upon hearing this, his 3 subordinates were dumbfounded. While most hot-blooded men couldn't wait to take up arms and gain glory on the battlefield, Wang Hao was thinking of staying at home. What a disgrace for a marshal. Marshal, the battlefield is where you show your courage, bravery, and spirit. How can you not go? Gu Yang urged repeatedly. Wang Hao curled his lips. I lack courage, bravery, and spirit. I have only an invincible provoking air. Cough cough. As soon as he finished speaking, his 3 subordinates choked, at a loss for words. Was this something a marshal should say? And talking about provocation. Why not just say you also lack shame? Usually arrogant enough to confront heaven and earth, why suddenly so timid? Wang Hao curled his lips. He was a grand villain, aiming to bring disaster to the nation. How could he go to save people from peril? Besides, the battlefield was different from the Interstellar Federation. Here, he had people to cover for him, allowing him to do whatever he wanted. But on the battlefield, who would care about his identity? If he disobeyed military orders, he'd be dragged off and executed. And if he were ambushed by the enemy by accident, wouldn't that be the end of him? So he couldn't go to the battlefield. It was better to stay home, perhaps take his subordinates out to collect some red envelopes, and earn sin points by causing national disaster. The most critical point was that national heroes easily emerged on the battlefield, and his goal was to undermine such heroes, tarnish their reputations, and ensure they'd be pelted with rotten eggs on the streets. Marshal, I think you might be disappointed, Gu Yang said seriously, though the military department is made up of nobles, including frivolous scions like Guan Shi, they've always been the strongest shield against external threats. So you wanting to stay at home is simply not possible. Wang Hao sneered, what if I poison my 10,000 ace army, taking away their ability to fight? I don't believe they'll still send me to the battlefield alone. The 3 subordinates were stunned, their minds racing with disbelief. They couldn't believe these were the actions of a marshal toward his own troops. And to think of poisoning them. It was outrageous that he could even conceive such a plot. No, I can't poison them, Wang Hao suddenly said. Tears welling up in their eyes, the 3 subordinates thought their leader had finally seen reason. With his cunning intelligence, he could surely lead them to achievement and carve out their own destiny. I should first demand additional people and equipment from Guan Xingxiang, that old turtle. Once everything is in place, I can poison them. That way, my army can rapidly become combat ready and I'll also avoid going to the battlefield, Wang Hao sneered darkly. I don't believe that at a time like this, the old turtle would dare to quibble with me. Gulp. The 3 subordinates could bear no more and collapsed to the ground. Wang Hao had completely outdone them once again, his shamelessness shattering their values and worldview. Chapter 329. Tianbei University. The Courage battleship slowly descended. The students below couldn't help but exclaim in awe. Is this the top-level battleship of the Interstellar Federation, the Courage? The size is truly terrifying, just this intense oppressive feeling makes me feel suffocated. It must be Wang Hao returning. Who else but him could have the privilege of owning the Courage? I heard that the Tianluo constellation star system is attacking us, and the 2 federations are joining hands. Should we follow Wang Hao to establish a great career? Don't daydream, Wang Hao needs the Ace Army, and we don't qualify. Ah, what a pity. As the students marveled at the courage battleship, a woman noble as an ice mountain snow lotus, accompanied by a group of women in black, walked over. Her overwhelming aura, together with her peerless beauty, instantly silenced the crowd. All male beings started breathing rapidly, feeling as if they had fallen in love. Seeing the expressions on the boys, the nearby girls stomped their feet in anger, shouting in their hearts, "Who let this vixen out? Why isn't she kept at home?" When Wang Hao emerged from the courage battleship and saw this ice mountain beauty, he was instantly stunned. Qian Wanyang dumbfoundedly said, "Oh my god, how did this lady chase him here?" Gu Yang curiously asked, "Who is this beauty? Why does the marshal have such an expression upon seeing her?" Chen Yao shook his head and sighed, "This is the Ice Mountain Queen we encountered when we went to the Yao Tian Federation to rescue young Master Chu Lei last time. Her real name is Zhao Yuling, the granddaughter of Marshal Zhao Kun. After our boss flirted with her, she has been relentlessly pursuing him, but I didn't expect her to chase him all the way here." The Ice Mountain Queen of the Yao Tian Federation. Gu Yang looked up to Wang Hao admiringly, thinking he truly is a man capable of driving women mad, the kind of madness that spans 2 federations pursuing a man, something he had never seen or imagined. Qian Wanyang whispered, "Don't be envious now, this queen's cultivation is much stronger than our boss's, and she has a terrible temper too. I assume our boss is getting a headache now. Is it that bad?" Gu Yang turned his head to look at Zhao Yuling, only to see a sweet smile on her lips, which seemed to melt the ice and snow around her, reviving the earth in an instant. "I suddenly feel like my life from here on out is going to be miserable," Wang Hao muttered, as a twitch formed at the corner of his mouth. Until his cultivation completely surpassed Zhao Yuling's, the idea of wandering around freely was unthinkable. Gu Yang gave Wang Hao a sympathetic look, knowing even though he hadn't spent much time with Wang Hao, that Wang Hao was someone who couldn't stay idle. If this queen was truly as fearsome, then Wang Hao's future life might indeed be miserable. "Don't you seem unhappy to see me?" Zhao Yuling's eyes narrowed slightly, emitting a dangerous sparkle. "How could I be?" Wang Hao spread his arms and quickly embraced Zhao Yuling. Zhao Yuling's lips curved into a happy smile, she didn't refuse and hugged Wang Hao back. Seeing this scene, all the male beings in the crowd suddenly snapped out of their trance, feeling a crushing sound in their chests. Why is this goddess with Wang Hao? Oh my god, although I'm handsome and successful at a young age, why do I have to exist in the same era as Wang Hao? It's truly sad. In this era, not only is his aura overshadowing mine, but now even the goddess has fallen into his arms. I can't live like this anymore. Wang Hao rolled his eyes, these animals hadn't yet seen Zhao Yuling's small universe explode, otherwise they wouldn't treat her as a goddess, but as a queen, worshipping her obediently. What are you thinking about? Zhao Yuling asked curiously. Wang Hao's eyes twinkled with endless tenderness, I've been missing you so much recently I've lost weight, so I'm thinking about where to go for dinner later. Smooth talker. Zhao Yuling glared at Wang Hao, but she felt quite pleased inside. Wang Hao shivered violently, struck by a metaphorical bolt of lightning. Although Zhao Yuling was a bit domineering, her beauty was absolutely breathtaking, a single glance could easily steal souls. A hint of a smile appeared at the corners of Zhao Yuling's mouth as she watched Wang Hao, wondering how he would escape her clutches now. At that moment, Xiang sprinted over to Wang Hao, hugged his arm, and laughingly asked, Wang Hao, when are we going to eat? Food again? Wang Hao's face darkened, just how big was this glutton's stomach? Who is this? Zhao Yuling's face instantly turned cold, and a suppressing aura made it difficult for everyone present to breathe. Meanwhile, Zhao Yuling felt quite aggrieved. During the time she had been apart from Wang Hao, she felt she had developed lovesickness, her mind filled with his cheeky smiles and their moments together. So, when she heard that the 2 federations were planning to join forces, she immediately asked her grandfather to include her in the diplomatic corps, just to see this mischievous man. But this mischievous man, it turned out, was always surrounded by women, and all of them beauties. Wang Hao beamed, what if I said she's my bodyguard, would you believe me? Bodyguard. Suddenly, Zhao Yuling exploded into a burst of thunderous light, her aura instantly stirring the clouds in the sky. Martial Emperor. Everyone present watched Zhao Yuling in horror, there was no doubt that her aura had reached the level of a martial emperor. Oh my god, no wonder Marshal said we were in trouble, this isn't just any queen, but the empress herself. Gu Yang broke into a cold sweat. Monster! Qian Huanyang and Chen Yao stared dumbfounded at Zhao Yuling. If they remembered correctly, Zhao Yuling was only 22 years old, but breaking through to martial emperor at such an age made them question their very existence. Hush! The next second, Zhao Yuling suddenly disappeared from the spot, a whooshing sound instantly following. Xiang pivoted on her feet, effortlessly dodging Zhao Yuling's strike, and tilting her head curiously as she couldn't understand why this sister was attacking her. What? Zhao Yuling's eyes widened dramatically, although she hadn't used her full strength, being dodged so easily was a bit of a joke. Wang Hao snorted coldly, Yuling, do you believe now that Xiang is a bodyguard? Xiang nodded her head vigorously, patting her chest. Xiang is really powerful, protecting Wang Hao is a piece of cake. Zhao Yuling, with her head lowered, approached Wang Hao, holding his hand and shaking it like a child who had done something wrong. Wang Hao stared blankly at the coquettish Zhao Yuling, feeling an unreal sensation. Was this really the domineering queen? Chapter 330. Seeing this scene, all the male creatures in the venue let out cries of anguish. No justice at all. The heavenly Dao is unjust. How is Wang Hao worthy to make such an empress submit? Why haven't I encountered a youthful and invincible female bodyguard? Bodyguard my ass, you actually believe Wang Hao's bullshit? She's clearly a bodyguard for the night. I don't understand, why do these two proud daughters of heaven like Wang Hao? Yet, these two goddesses' cultivation is clearly superior to Wang Hao's, so why would they fall for him? Not superior my ass. Wang Hao comprehended several naturally perfect martial techniques and even achieved unity of heaven and man. He just lacks a bit in cultivation. I heard, Wang Hao never focused on cultivation, always spending his time flirting with girls. I've heard too, but I don't understand, why I, who cultivate diligently, can't match up to Wang Hao. Maybe this is just the difference between a genius and a commoner. Ah! No justice! Ignoring the cries of these beasts, Wang Hao led Zhao Yuling, who was like a little wife, to his villa. As soon as they entered, Zhao Yuling immediately shook off Wang Hao's hand and transformed back into the lofty queen. Wang Hao sighed. He knew it, a leopard can't change its spots, that little wifey appearance was all just an act. At that moment, Qian Huanyang took out a complete set of candlelight dinner from his dimension space, including 2 steaming heart-shaped steaks. Boss, please enjoy. Qian Huanyang politely bowed and then ran off. He could only do so much, any more would have been superfluous. The bystanders were dumbstruck. Although things stored in dimension space could stop time and come out still hot. Who would bother putting steaks in dimension space to take up space? Gu Yang nodded suddenly, seemingly understanding why Wang Hao let these two be grand generals. It wasn't about the position but about knowing his life habits like a housekeeper. Thinking this, Gu Yang felt instantly unburdened. As long as the grand generals were for show, whether the legion was capable of combat depended on them, the marshals. Chen Yao, without further ado, took out a bottle of treasured wine, then also excused himself. Seeing Xiang drooling over the steaks, Gu Yang politely said, Miss Xiang, I have prepared even more luxurious food for you. Xiang glanced at Gu Yang, then put little white on her head and hopped merrily outside. Gu Yang wiped the sweat off his forehead. His biggest fear was this tyrant giving him the brush off. Luckily, she was quite generous today. Giggle. Seeing all Wang Hao's companions had left, the woman in black who followed Zhao Yuling covered her mouth with a giggle, then also graciously made her way down. Now that only the two of them were left, Zhao Yuling's pretty face blushed as she asked softly, I heard you've become a marshal. Wang Hao raised an eyebrow, then do you plan on becoming the marshal's wife? Zhao Yuling rolled her eyes at Wang Hao, playfully retorted, I am destined to be a female marshal, it should be you becoming my marshal's husband. Wang Hao grimaced and muttered, by the time you become marshal, I'll probably have already become president. Don't underestimate me, Zhao Yuling stamped her foot, all the while striking a demure pose. Wang Hao looked straight at Zhao Yuling and stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her slender waist. What do you think you're doing, you big pervert? Let go of me, Zhao Yuling became flustered, her hands trying to push Wang Hao away, refusing to let this pervert take advantage. After you've come all this way to find me, how can I not honor the hospitality due to a host? Wang Hao said sternly, then slowly leaned his head in and kissed Zhao Yuling's red lips. At that moment, Zhao Yuling's heart was beating wildly, she completely forgot she was a martial emperor master. When Wang Hao gently touched her lips, she snapped back to reality, but it seemed impossible to push this big pervert away anymore. So, the next second, Zhao Yuling's mind went blank, with just one thought remaining: she'd lost her first kiss. The moment didn't last long. When they separated, Zhao Yuling's pretty face was flushed, her body burning hot. Wang Hao smirked wickedly, planning to take advantage of this opportunity to win Zhao Yuling over completely. Feeling Wang Hao's intense gaze, Zhao Yuling's heart raced even faster, and then, with a whoosh, she disappeared from the spot. "Hey, why are you running? We haven't eaten yet." Wang Hao called out urgently. "Big pervert, enjoy your meal alone." Zhao Yuling's shy voice came through. Nowadays girls really are immoral. After feasting and drinking, as soon as a room is mentioned, they run off, Wang Hao grumbled, sitting down alone to eat the untouched steak and sip the wine stored by Chen Yao. At Tianbei University, in a restaurant, Gu Yang was sitting with Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao. As for Xiang Xiang, afraid she might spoil the impact, she was gorging herself in a separate room. "Brother Gu, it's really kind of you to treat us, I feel bad." Jian Wanyang chuckled. Gu Yang waved it off, "We're all brothers here. It's nothing to treat you guys to a meal. Next time, I'll introduce some actresses to you." Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao's eyes lit up as they toasted to Gu Yang. "Brother Gu, with such a generous gesture, there must be something on your mind." Chen Yao ventured. Gu Yang nodded, speaking softly, "I've been wondering how I might get the marshal to take us onto the battlefield to earn achievements." Jian Wanyang laughed, "Brother Gu, you're too eager. If the boss says not to go to the battlefield now, he must have his reasons." "Reasons?" Gu Yang looked puzzled, unable to see what those might be. Chen Yao clapped Gu Yang on the shoulder, "Brother Gu, our boss has always been unconventional, otherwise, he couldn't have become a marshal at this age." Gu Yang nodded in agreement. If Wang Hao had followed a normal path, he clearly couldn't have attained the position of marshal. Just then, Zhao Yuling walked in with a group of women dressed in black and headed straight for Xiangxiang's small private room. Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao hurried forward, respectfully saying, "Sister-in-law, hello." Zhao Yuling nodded, then entered the room where Xiangxiang was, with a group of black-clad women standing guard outside the door. Jian Wanyang tugged at Chen Yao, "Should we go find the boss?" Gu Yang whispered, "Let's pretend we didn't see anything, even if the marshal came, it wouldn't help." Jian Wanyang and Chen Yao gave Gu Yang a thumbs up, and then the three left the restaurant without looking back. Knowing the terrifying combat capability of these two women, if a fight broke out, even if Wang Hao showed up, it would be futile. Chapter 331. Presidential Palace, Conference Room. The representatives of the major powers gathered together. The president spoke, "Regarding the Tianluo constellation star system, the Dark Elves have attacked our human race. What are your opinions?" Guan Xingxiang snorted coldly, "There's nothing to think about, we just hit them back." The people present all nodded seriously, indicating that was exactly the point. "Very well, we will go to war with the Dark Elves, letting them know that if we can repel them once, we can do it a second time," the president declared with high spirits. Clap, clap, clap. As soon as the words were out, a round of applause rang out. The president gestured for silence. "Now that the decision to go to war has been made, what about the matter of forming an alliance with the Yaotian Federation? What do you think?" Chu Lei spoke up, "I think cooperation is fine. The Yaotian Federation isn't foolish, they surely understand the principle that if the lips are gone, the teeth will feel the cold." Bing Jiao nodded, "I believe during the period of cooperation, everyone can interact with each other, but we absolutely mustn't allow the other's forces to cross the border. The armies of both sides shall not cross the border line, this is a must." The president nodded in agreement, "But I think it would be very necessary for the younger generations of both sides to interact and learn from each other. The president truly has a vision for the future." Guan Xingxiang squinted his eyes, unable to help admiring this old fox. It sounded nice to say it was for the younger generations to interact, but they would definitely send their youth to gather military intelligence from the Yaotian Federation. In this way, if the Dark Elves were repelled in the short term, then when these young people came to power in the future, they would have knowledge of the enemy and secure certain advantages on the battlefield. If the Dark Elves weren't repelled quickly, these young people would then become close allies in the trenches. By doing this, they could advance or retreat as needed. Of course, if the Yaotian Federation played the same hand, then it would just be about whose young people were more spirited. The president humbly nodded, if there are no other questions, then let's all get moving. Wait a minute. Guan Xingxian raised his hand and said, the dark elves are powerful. It took us more than 10 years to repel them last time, and this time it may also turn into a protracted war, so I plan to let the young people of the major forces also train on the battlefield. After exchanging views amongst each other, all the powers nodded in agreement, believing that the battlefield was indeed the best place to train their youths. Since everyone agrees, let's start taking action. The president took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with resolve. Soon, the major forces of the Interstellar Federation all sprang into action. Skyfire Company's munitions ceased external sales, all to be put into the impending war. The Potion Guild also began working overtime to create potions, especially those for healing, which they stockpiled in large quantities. The various large mercenary corps from the Adventurers Guild had already gathered, just waiting to go to the front line to fight the Dark Elves. Meanwhile, the 4 ace armies of the military department had already reached the border, fully equipped and ready to repel the invading enemy. At the same time, the Presidential Palace issued mobilization orders, calling up resources from all planets of the Interstellar Federation and even dispatching escorts to start transporting all sorts of materials to the front-line battlefields. In any case, the target of all the major forces was one and the same, to drive away the Dark Elves, resolutely refusing to be enslaved. The next day, at Tianbei University, Vice Principal Sun Ming was watching Wang Hao, who was having his breakfast. Truth be told, he really didn't want to see this little devil. After all, Wang Hao's indiscriminate firing at Tianbei University and his attempt to kick Sun Ming where it hurt was still vivid in his memory. But now, with Su Mu asking him to fetch Wang Hao, he dared not refuse. Wang Hao, stop eating and come with me to see the principal, would you? Sun Ming said anxiously. He really couldn't understand why, after all his persuasive effort, this guy wouldn't even budge an inch. Wasn't this putting him in a bind? Grandpa's summons can't be good, I'm not going. Wang Hao said, curling his lip. He had heard that all the major powers were training their younger generations to teach them what war was all about. And now, with Su Mu summoning him, the purpose was quite obvious. Seeing the look of complete disinterest on Wang Hao's face, Sun Ming quickly contemplated if he should use force to take him to Su Mu, who was waiting. Seeing that Sun Ming didn't respond, Wang Hao couldn't help but ask, what's so urgent that you need to see me? Could it be that Grandpa has some treasure for me? Sun Ming rolled his eyes, no, Principal Su Mu just has something to task you with. What, task me with something? Wang Hao's eyes sparkled and he said, could it be that Grandpa is planning to go to the front line, but worries that Tianbei University can't function properly, so he wants me to become the principal of Tianbei University? No. Sun Ming's face darkened. Didn't this guy have any self-awareness? Even if Su Mu went blind, he would never hand Tianbei University over to such a scourge. If it really fell into Wang Hao's hands, it would be closed within a year. It's not that. Wang Hao sighed in disappointment, but then excitedly said, I know, Grandpa knows the front line is dangerous, so he's planning to write a will, fearing that no one would inherit his fortune after his death. Pfft! Sun Ming burst out laughing, and his patience utterly collapsed. This guy was too morbidly minded, effectively cursing Su Mu to death. In the end, Sun Ming ran out of patience, grabbed Wang Hao, and brought him to Su Mu's office. Principal, Wang Hao is here, Sun Ming said with a bow. Su Mu nodded and spoke softly, Hao, I've just received a decision from above, the Interstellar Federation is going to face the Dark Elves head-on. Wang Hao blinked innocently, but what does that have to do with me? Su Mu blew his beard and glared, as the #1 talent of the Interstellar Federation, you naturally need to play a role in leading the younger generation. Wang Hao curled his lip. He could lead everyone astray easily enough, but as for leading troops into battle, he didn't feel up to the task. Grandpa knows the pressure is great, we can take it slow, Su Mu said with a beaming smile, stroking his beard. However, to foster the friendship between the two federations, the higher-ups have decided to start with a contest and let the young generations display their talents. Display their talents? Wang Hao scoffed. What displaying of talents? It was clearly just a show of strength. This contest will be divided into 2 groups, a junior group for those between 15 to 20 years old, and an adult group for those between 20 to 25 years old. Grandpa believes you can definitely take first place in the junior group, Su Mu looked at Wang Hao with reassurance. Though Wang Hao was a troublemaker, with hopelessly corrupted thoughts. His talents were truly unparalleled and rarely seen throughout the ages. What's the reward for coming in first place? Wang Hao asked curiously. Su Mu answered seriously, the winners in both categories will receive the baptism of divine dragon blood. Divine dragon blood baptism. Wang Hao's eyes immediately lit up. His golden bone had already formed, but his golden body needed the blood of a divine beast to be constructed. Chapter 332. Wang Hao slapped his chest and promised, Grandpa, don't worry. I will definitely win first place in the youth division. Su Mu nodded in satisfaction, confident that Wang Hao securing first place was not a problem at all. Sun Ming received a message, President, the front has sent a battle report. The military department's 4 ace army brigades are already engaged with the Dark Elves. Su Mu rose and went to the window, his face filled with sorrow. The war has begun, and this time, who knows how many families will be shattered. Please take it easy, President. Since war is inevitable, we'll choose to fight with all our might. Sun Ming's eyes gleamed with determination as he had already received an invitation from the upper echelons, calling all martial artists above the rank of Martial Emperor to rush to the border to fight. Unavoidable, then let's fight. Su Mu exhaled, Hao, I've heard you're extraordinarily talented in literature. Grandpa suddenly thought of an excellent first line of a couplet, try matching it. First line. Wang Hao stood stupefied, just a moment ago it was all concern for the country and the people, and now, out of the blue, he was supposed to match couplets? The train of thought had shifted so rapidly. What excellent first line has the president thought of? Sun Ming asked with keen interest. Wang Hao gaped at the two old men, amazed at how swiftly the mood had changed. Was it him failing to keep pace, or had he not attained such a realm? The first line is, the state prospers, families prosper, nation and family flourish together. Su Mu stroked his beard, his face beaming with a smile, clearly very pleased with his spontaneous inspiration for the couplet. Excellent! Just excellent! Sun Ming clapped his hands in approval, it completely embodies the president's concern for the country and its people. Pfft! Wang Hao burst out laughing, realizing at that moment, those involved in education were truly the masters of shamelessness. The flattery was not only pleasing to the mood but also stuffed with literacy. Then Sun Ming, try matching this with a second line, Su Mu suggested with a smile. Sun Ming frowned in thought for a moment before saying, heaven's vastness, earth's vastness, heaven and earth's vast majesty. Good, 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 indeed very neat. Su Mu nodded in satisfaction, then turned to Wang Hao, Hao, try matching it as well. Wang Hao grinned wryly, your mom's, his mom's, you're his mom's. Pfft! No sooner had he spoken than both Su Mu and Sun Ming burst out laughing. Although they had heard that Wang Hao had exchanged dozens of couplets with Guo Yunzi at the Yao Tian Federation, they truly hadn't expected this rascal to adopt the same style while matching couplets with them. Just as the two elders felt awkward, Sun Ming received another message and hastily said, President, the rules for the student competition between the two federations have been announced. What rules have they arranged? Su Mu asked casually. They've chosen not to use the arena for combat, Sun Ming quickly explained, but to go for an outdoor points elimination match. It seems they intend to win by sheer numbers. Win by numbers. Su Mu shook his head with a rueful smile, such a lack of self-awareness. They may think they're making clever calculations, but little do they know, Wang Hao has reached a non-human realm, rendering their numerical advantage meaningless. Sun Ming gave a wry smile, President, this outdoor points elimination match also prohibits weapons and potions. Everything must be found on the battlefield. No weapons allowed. Su Mu slammed the table in anger, what kind of joke is that? Looking for weapons on the battlefield, if they don't feel right, how will anyone be able to unleash their full combat potential? Sun Ming sighed helplessly, the Yao Tian Federation's answer is that the battlefield is ever-changing, and no one knows what the next moment will bring. They need people who can adapt to the situation, not just geniuses who are only good at training. Su Mu frowned, finding no fault with this statement. After all, on the battlefield, it's common for weapons to be lost during combat. You simply have to pick up another's weapon and use it without having time to concern yourself with whether you're accustomed to it or not. Let them mess with the rules if they want, but in the end, all these guys will be hit to the ground by me. Wang Hao waved his hand dismissively, turning to leave, no longer interested in playing with these old folks with their erratic thinking. Su Mu stroked his beard with a smile, truly worthy of being the Interstellar Federation's top talent, you're always so confident. Wang Hao looked back and smirked, it's not about my confidence, it's just that those guys are too useless. Sun Ming was at a loss, this kid was getting too full of himself. Didn't he realize how arrogant his words were? Compared to you, the rest of them are indeed useless, Su Mu laughed boisterously. By the way, Hao, your grandfather will head to the front lines tomorrow. If you're free at home, go enlist some soldiers, but don't stir up too much trouble, got it? Wang Hao's eyes suddenly lit up. With Su Mu gone, he felt like he'd be letting himself down if he didn't tear Tianbei University apart. As for recruiting soldiers, he definitely needed to think carefully about what kind of soldiers to recruit. Nevertheless, Wang Hao obediently nodded, indicating that he was a good and obedient child who would not cause trouble for Tianbei University. After Wang Hao had left, Sun Ming couldn't help but ask, Principal, do you truly believe Wang Hao will genuinely recruit soldiers without causing chaos everywhere? Su Mu spat, I'd sooner believe that tomorrow is the end of the world than that this kid will behave himself. So you? Sun Ming asked in confusion, completely unable to understand what Su Mu was planning. Su Mu spoke with a grave expression, I want to see how many people this mischievous kid can recruit at Tianbei University. As for the rest, that's his problem. Sun Ming tentatively inquired, does that mean, Principal, you're letting Wang Hao recruit to prepare his forces for future battles? Su Mu nodded, with the four of us old guys around, it's not a problem to help him recruit a lot of soldiers with potential. But how to control these soldiers, to make them obedient, to achieve conquest wherever they're directed, that's what he needs to learn. Sun Ming nodded in realization, signaling that he understood. For now, these soldiers were joining out of respect for the four principals, thus aiding Wang Hao. But if the soldiers were not loyal, and there was disobedience in carrying out orders, how could they win a war? Therefore, Su Mu planned to first let Wang Hao try his hand at Tianbei University, to get a feel for it, and then to go train that bunch of sly old birds. Principal, you are truly considerate. Sun Ming said with an admiring face. Su Mu stroked his beard and sighed, I'm just a man burdened by fate. First, I toiled for his father, and now for this brat. When will I ever have a peaceful life? Sun Ming glanced at Su Mu and saw despite his complaints, his lips were nearly splitting into a lotus flower from smiling, and his proud demeanor was blatant for even a fool to see, right? But who could argue with the man? He was the principal, and he was merely the vice principal, so the flattery was necessary. Principal, as the saying goes, the capable should labor more. If you don't educate them, wouldn't that be a waste of your talent? Sun Ming spoke smoothly. Su Mu nodded in satisfaction, his mood instantly brightening. At the same time, Su Mu also prayed that Wang Hao, this kid, would give him face and not create too much of a commotion. Chapter 333 Tianbei University. After Su Mu left, the place suddenly became lively. Especially when a piece of news quickly spread, the entire Tianbei University was bustling with excitement. Did you hear? The Sharp Light Greatsword is here at our Tianbei University. Sharp Light? Could it be the Guan family's Sharp Light? Yes, that's the one. I heard that this Sharp Light was lost during the destruction of Tianming Star by the zombie virus. I heard that the Guan family spent a lot of money buying clues about Sharp Light, but there had been no news. Now there is news. It's right here at our Tianbei University. This is just a rumor, no one knows if it's true or not. There's no smoke without fire, there must be some connection, let's investigate. Right, we must thoroughly investigate, the rewards from the Guan family are incredibly frightening. On the streets, Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, two subordinates, followed behind Wang Hao. As for Gu Yang, he had gone to the third-level planet given by the Potion Guild, preparing to develop this planet and make it Wang Hao's main base. Qian Wanyang couldn't help but ask, Boss, why did you spread the news about Sharp Light? Yesterday, after Wang Hao came back from Su Mu, he said he wanted to enlist soldiers, but what they couldn't understand was why he then had them spread the news about the Sharp Light Greatsword. Could it be that he intended to provoke the students into fighting and then secretly observe those with formidable power? But that didn't seem right either. After all, Sharp Light is the treasure of the Guan family, and if the champion knew Sharp Light was at Tianbei University, he would surely rush over to check. To lose Sharp Light in the process of enlisting, surely that would be unreasonable. Chen Yao also looked at Wang Hao curiously as he also couldn't figure out what Wang Hao really planned to do. Wang Hao smiled and asked, what do you think would happen if someone was rumored to possess Sharp Light? Boss, are you trying to frame someone? Qian Wanyang ventured. Wang Hao smirked and said, last time, Qin Feng not only boasted in front of me but also refused me, which really annoyed me, so I must make him miserable this time. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao both shivered intensely, their scheming boss clearly still remembered that incident, and now Qin Feng was in big trouble. The Guan family had once announced that if someone returned sharp light, all would be forgiven, and they would also receive a super luxurious gift package. However, if it were not returned and the Guan family found it, it would certainly mean death. If sharp light really ended up in Qin Feng's hands and Qin Feng couldn't explain the origins of sharp light, his days would surely be numbered. Chen Yao advised, Boss, Qin Feng is young and yet has such cultivation, he's truly talented. Isn't it a pity to just watch him get killed by the Guan family? Wang Hao blinked his innocent eyes, who said anything about watching Qin Feng die? Qian Wanyang suddenly realized, Boss wants to drive Qin Feng to a dead end and then step in to subdue him. Wang Hao chuckled and nodded, people who catch my eye have only two paths. One is to become an enemy and get screwed over by me, the other is to obediently fall into the trap and get rich together. Boss, it's a good idea, but is Qin Feng worth a level 6 alloy weapon? Chen Yao was in pain, even if Wang Hao stepped in to save Qin Feng and subdue him, that sharp light great sword was definitely not coming back. After all, the Guan family were no vegetarians, how would they hand over such a treasure to Wang Hao? Idiot, if I was able to fool Guan Yingzhe with a fake last time, then naturally I can continue to fool them with another fake, Wang Hao scoffed, already not in the habit of giving away treasures he had acquired. So, this sharp light greatsword was still a counterfeit exchanged from the system, effective for 5 days. Qian Wanyang cautiously asked, Boss, I heard that you helped Jian Taifeng recover the dawn on Tianma Star, so this dawn. Of course, it's fake too. Wang Hao said with an innocent face, did you guys really think I would actually return it? Oh, my god. It really was fake. This boss's guts are way too big. To dare fool even a terrifying figure like Jian Taifeng, truly a model of not getting smashed. At the same time, the two subordinates also couldn't understand why their boss had so many fakes on him. Could it be that he made his fortune by selling fake goods? Just then, Qian Wanyang received a message, Boss, the military department has sent a message saying that they have prepared 1 million sets of warrior equipment and dozens of warships for you, ready for you to head to the front line at any time. Congratulations boss, we're going to make a fortune now, Chen Yao hastily congratulated. Wang Hao frowned, skeptical, you're saying the military department has prepared 1 million sets of warrior equipment for me? And dozens of warships. Qian Wanyang gave a bitter smile, Boss, these materials are nominally yours, but the users are actually the soldiers under the command of those noble offspring of Guanxi. That old fox is too despicable, giving to those noble offspring is no different from throwing it into the water. Chen Yao said angrily. Qian Wanyang sighed, I've investigated, the soldiers recruited by Guanxi are all retired veterans from the Ace Army. Though they're not at their peak, their battlefield experience shouldn't be underestimated, and those veterans are all extremely loyal to Guan Xingxiang. Chen Yao gasped, that old turtle Guan Xingxiang is using the military funds to raise his private army. Now that the war had fully broken out, all the major powers of the Interstellar Federation had merged and were no longer acting independently. The funds and supplies were all coordinated and distributed by the President's office. But now Guan Xingxiang had requested these supplies in the name of Wang Hao, yet 90% of the people in Wang Hao's army obeyed Guan Xingxiang, and none of these materials reached Wang Hao. It was truly hateful. Wang Hao coldly sneered, Guan Xingxiang used my name to raise his private army, thinking he could get away with it. I'll make him spit it back out, with interest. Hearing this, the two subordinates could only mentally mourn for the noble offspring for 3 minutes. Now that Guan Xingxiang and his followers had gone to the front lines, they stood no chance against the cunning Wang Hao. Boss, what do we do now? Qian Wanyang asked cautiously. Wang Hao pondered, let Guan Xingxiang jump around for a bit. After I finish participating in the Inter-Federation Wilderness Points competition, I'll slowly take care of him. So, boss, does that mean we're going to frame Qin Feng now? Chen Yao ventured. A pleasing smile crept across Wang Hao's face, you guys wait here and toss the sharp light on the path Qin Feng must pass. As soon as Qin Feng picks it up, immediately snap a photo and spread the news. I want to see if this kid can still remain arrogant. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao silently mourned Qin Feng for 3 minutes. This was the outcome of showing off for no reason. Chapter 334. Purple Joy Star, Dream Chasing Media. Pan Ji was sitting in the chairman's office, handling documents. Little AI rushed in urgently, "Sister Ji, something serious has happened." Pan Ji asked curiously, "What happened?" Little AI brought up an article, which also had a photo attached. It was a photo of Qin Feng holding the sharp light great sword. Could it be that Qin Feng took the sharp light? Has he gone mad? Pan Ji screamed, sensing that real trouble was brewing. The Guan family began a widespread campaign to find the sharp light after losing it, offering a price that was difficult to refuse to repurchase the sword. This had led many people to search for the sharp light everywhere, but sadly, there were no leads. If the news that sharp light was in Qin Feng's hands got out now, it was clear how many people would come knocking. Especially the Guan family, they would definitely arrive as soon as possible. Even if Qin Feng handed over the sharp light great sword obediently in the end, it was estimated that the Guan family would not let him off the hook because it was a matter of their reputation. "Sister Ji, what do we do now?" Little AI was so anxious she was about to cry. Pan Ji frowned slightly and after a moment's thought said, "Tell Qin Feng to go find Wang Hao, only he can save him." But Qin Feng said he and Wang Hao aren't allies. As little AI thought of this, she almost wished she could slap Qin Feng twice. How many people dreamt of becoming generals and never could? Yet Qin Feng was actually pushing such opportunities away. Then we can only leave it to fate. Pan Ji sighed helplessly. Although she became the chairwoman of Dream Chasing Company because of Wang Hao, facing this level of conflict, she had the will but was powerless. Tears welling in her eyes, little AI threw herself into Pan Ji's arms, cursing Qin Feng in her heart for acting tough without the capability. "Now, look what's happened." But at this moment, Qin Feng's heart was a tumultuous stampede, and he was cursing vehemently. On his way home, he had just found this sharp light great sword, and out of curiosity, he picked it up to have a look. But as a result, the news about sharp light being in his hands spread like wildfire on the internet. Bang! While Qin Feng was feeling down, his front door was abruptly kicked open violently, and immediately, a group of people surged in. Upon seeing the sharp light great sword in Qin Feng's hand, they didn't waste any words and drew their weapons, rushing at Qin Feng to attack. "Wait!" Qin Feng's face turned pale, but there was absolutely no time for explanations or the chance to explain, so he could only smash through the window and escape. "Chase him!" The crowd didn't waste time talking, they quickly gave chase, racing toward the wilds of Tianbei University. On the top floor of a building not far away, Wang Hao, with his underlings Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, watched as Qin Feng was chased by a group into the forest. "Boss, why haven't we seen your wife's shadow today?" Qian Wanyang asked curiously. Wang Hao waved his hand, "Don't mention that fickle woman. She said she was coming to see me, but in the end, she got together with Xiang, that little foodie, and lied to me, saying it was love at first sight." Chen Yao consoled, "Actually, sister-in-law is probably considering Big Brother's best interests, after all, Big Brother is a man of great undertakings." But in his heart, Chen Yao was thinking, with Wang Hao's hooligan attribute that acted impulsively to drive cars at any moment, would Zhao Yuling dare to be alone with him? If they were together, it would probably take less than 2 days for her to be devoured completely. Wang Hao smiled and nodded, "You're right, behind every successful man, there stands a group of obscure women." Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao both gave an awkward smile, thankful that Zhao Yuling had not heard this, otherwise, it would have definitely led to an epic battle. Chen Yao quickly changed the subject, "Boss, I heard that Principal Su Mu thinks very highly of Qin Feng, believing him to be a super genius on par with your father. Not losing to the old man is great." Wang Hao's mouth curved into a light smile. Right now, he was in dire need of geniuses of this caliber. Having tasted the benefits that came from Li Yuniang, the Heavenly Tao's own son, he was especially interested in geniuses of this level, wishing he could work this group of Heavenly Tao's sons to death every day to receive all sorts of benefits from the system. "Boss, Qin Feng is no fool. If you show up later, will he suspect that you're the one scheming behind his back?" Qian Wanyang couldn't help asking. Wang Hao curled his lip, "So what if he knows? Do you think your boss recruits underlings like those idiots in TV dramas? That I need to do something to make the underling convincingly obey and then, moved to tears, the underling confesses his youthful ignorance and kneels to swear loyalty?" Chen Yao asked curiously, "If not through that approach, then what other methods are there?" Wang Hao laughed proudly, "Of course, it's about setting up a trap to beat the new underling half to death, making him understand the importance of having a backer. If he still doesn't listen, then just keep on grilling him until he starts questioning life itself. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao were both stupefied. They wondered if this was really about recruiting underlings or settling a blood feud. Wang Hao glanced at his lackeys, obviously aware of what they were thinking. But he had his own profound reasons for acting this way, and it even served a dual purpose. If the underling chose not to join after being beaten up, he would continue to be a target until he awoke an undying spirit of righteous justice, becoming a cash machine on his path as a major villain, reaping treasures. If he chose to join, then he would be part of the crew, adding another potent underling. Why wouldn't he be happy about that? At this moment, in the wilderness forest, the number of people besieging Qin Feng was increasing, and their goal was very clear, to obtain the sharp light greatsword in Qin Feng's hands. With that sharp light, one could claim the Guan family's reward, so tempting it could scare a person to death. They could not help but be moved and needed to quickly handle Qin Feng to take the sharp light greatsword. Qin Feng gripped the sharp light greatsword, gasping heavily after a bitterly exhausting battle. Qin Feng, hand over the sharp light, a student called out. Qin Feng looked at the sharp light greatsword in his hands and took a deep breath. If I hand over the sharp light, do you think the Guan family will spare me? The student thought for a moment. As long as you can tell where the sharp light came from, I think the Guan family will spare you. Qin Feng let out a bitter laugh. He had actually found the sharp light, but who would believe such a thing? Even he could hardly believe it. Just then, a spaceship appeared in the sky, clearly bearing the Guan family's emblem. The students besieging Qin Feng all reluctantly retreated. Although they were elite students of Tianbei University, when faced with a top-level noble family like the Guan family, even a minor character from the Guan family was not someone they could afford to provoke. Wang Hao watched the spaceship from afar and chuckled lightly. Has the Guan family finally arrived? Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao mourned for Qin Feng in silence for 3 minutes in their hearts, hoping that the brother wouldn't continue to show off later, or else his future life would certainly be fraught with hardship. While talking, the three of them jumped down from the rooftop and ran towards the forest. Chapter 335. The spaceship landed. A martial king man stepped down from the ship, followed by a bunch of warriors from the martial arts sect. Seeing the martial king man, the entire crowd of students immediately burst into fervent discussion. This person is the strongest of the younger generation from the Guan family. His name is Guan Tian. I've heard of him. He's the #1 talent at the Royal College, on par with the legendary Guan Yingzhe of the past. What's the use of competing with Guan Yingzhe? Nowadays, freaks of nature are rampant. If you can't reach Wang Hao's level, it's impossible to make a mark in history. That's true, Wang Hao is a super freak of nature, unparalleled in history. Anyone who is a genius in the same era as him is just a foil. I heard a rumor that Wang Hao is the son of Marshal Wang Tianyi. No way. What's the character of Marshal Wang Tianyi, and what's the character of Wang Hao? How could those two possibly be father and son? I heard that Wang Hao was originally studying at the Royal College, but after Marshal Wang Tianyi went missing, he was kicked out. If that's true, then those nobles are too despicable, aren't they? Despicable? Are you just finding out now? Sigh, regardless of Wang Hao's background, it's none of our business. Right, let's just watch the show and see how Qin Feng deals with Guan Tian. You are Qin Feng. Guan Tian confronted Qin Feng and said coldly, why is sharp light in your hands? Qin Feng replied warily, I found sharp light. Found it? Guan Tian roared in fury, do you think I'm an idiot? Who would discard such a treasure? Qin Feng smirked bitterly. He had anticipated this outcome, yet he truly hadn't lied. Shoo shoo. Suddenly, the sound of tearing wind arose as Guan Tian turned into a blur, charging toward Qin Feng. Not good. Qin Feng's pupils dilated sharply as he quickly retreated backward. Although Qin Feng was fast for his level, the difference between his cultivation as a martial artist and a martial king was like heaven and earth. He simply couldn't evade. With a bang, Qin Feng felt a pain in his stomach and his body was thrown violently backward. But it was not over. Another bang, and Qin Feng felt another pang of pain in his back, propelling him forward again. In this way, a continuous series of bangs echoed as Qin Feng's body was hurled through the air. The students from Tianbei University around him twitched, covering their eyes, unable to bear watching any longer. Guan Tian was clearly tormenting Qin Feng, intending to torture him to death. Stop! A loud shout rang out as a handsome man carrying a long sword rushed from afar. Among the branches of a large tree, stood Wang Hao and two others. Qian Huanyang whispered into Wang Hao's ear, "Boss, this man is a powerhouse on the Heavens list, named Wang Yuheng. A Heavens list powerhouse." Wang Hao's interest was piqued instantly. These were all individuals with martial king cultivation, and who had also comprehended the unity of heaven and man. Moreover, from what he understood, the martial experts above the level of martial emperor in the Interstellar Federation were basically all at the front lines now. So, masters of this caliber were essentially at the pinnacle of combat strength, belonged to the sort that call the shots. Guan Tian stopped, eyed Wang Yuheng, and sneered dismissively, "So it's comprehension of unity of heaven and man that gives you the guts to meddle." Wang Yuheng glanced at the almost lifeless Qin Feng and replied coldly, "Guan Tian, this is Tianbei University, and it's not your turn to run wild here." Guan Tian scoffed disdainfully, "Now, with old man Su Mu not around, even if I were to kill someone here, who could do anything to me?" "You," full of rage, Wang Yuheng's true qi exploded out in an instant, causing the pebbles on the ground to jump frantically. A cold light flashed through Guan Tian's eyes, and a tornado burst out around him in an instant, within which were fist-sized ice crystals, all sharp as spikes, twinkling with bursts of cold light. Dual attribute. The students on site gasped in astonishment. They had always heard how formidable a dual attribute was, but never witnessed it with their own eyes. But having seen it, they all realized why so many martial arts sects pursued dual attributes. It wasn't just a little bit stronger. Like Guan Tian's combination of wind and ice, whereas wind attribute could only accelerate, by adding these ice spikes, it became an ice storm with attack power, as well as the ability to ambush. This speed, attack, and ambush combo, who could guard against it? While the students envied Guan Tian, they saw his figure suddenly become ethereal, as if he were to ride the wind away. Unity of heaven and man. The students exclaimed in surprise again and again, with dual attribute combined with unity of heaven and man, who in Tianbei University could really be his match now? Especially when the students saw the jade bead chain hanging around Guan Tian's neck, their eyes glinted red with fervor, nearly to the point of wearing their envy, jealousy, and hate on their faces. Because this was far from any ordinary jade bead chain, but a necklace strung with astronomy jade. Astronomical stones were very rare to begin with and required martial artists who had comprehended unity of heaven and man to wear it for over a decade to form. Their rarity was unspeakably high. Yet now Guan Tian was wearing a whole chain of them, at least 20 beads. How could they not be envious, jealous, and hateful? Guan Tian looked down disdainfully, "A bunch of country bumpkins." Hearing this, the students glared at Guan Tian, one after another. This bastard was just too arrogant, not only beating people up on their turf but also insulting them. Although the students were seething with anger, not a single one dared to come forward. Wang Hao shook his head, "These guys are really useless, not a bit of backbone. I don't even have the slightest interest in recruiting them." Qian Huanyang quickly said, "Boss, not everyone can be like you, unaffected by wealth, unwavering in poverty, and unyielding in the face of power." Wang Hao nodded with satisfaction, "You really do have a way with words." Little White sat on Wang Hao's shoulder, looking down at the astronomy jade hanging around its neck. This was the prize Wang Hao had won from a literary contest with Guo Yunzi in the Yaotian Federation. However, its single piece was clearly not of the same caliber as Guan Tian's chain, and the gap between their levels was far too vast. "Wang Hao, look at that guy's necklace, it's better than mine," huffed Little White. "Really?" Wang Hao glanced at the necklace around Guan Tian's neck, "Is this kid showing off his wealth to me?" Little White nodded vigorously, "Wang Hao, this guy isn't even putting us in his eyes. Wearing a necklace not only resembles mine but also surpasses it, is clearly targeting us." Qian Huanyang and Chen Yao, the two subordinates, were stunned in place, amazed by the rabbit's logic. Necklaces of the same brand in the Interstellar Federation? And thinking a better one is targeting it, wasn't that excuse a bit far-fetched? Coveting someone else's treasure and then looking for a pretext to act, such shameless character indeed was inherited straight from Wang Hao. Chapter 336. Tianbei University. Within the dense forest, there were many students crowded around. Guan Tian was in a standoff with Wang Yuheng, while Qin Feng lay on the ground, barely clinging to life. "Hey, things are pretty lively here." Wang Hao, flanked by his two underlings Qian Huanyang and Chen Yao, walked over. "It's Wang Hao." Upon seeing him, the students quickly cleared a path for Wang Hao. Wang Hao was now a celebrity at Tianbei University, hadn't even left campus and had already mixed with the marshal, becoming the second largest shareholder of Skyfire Company, and the deputy dean of the Potion Guild, spanning 3 major powers with an impressive identity. Moreover, he had even formed an ace army tens of thousands strong, a feat absolutely stunning to the world. So, when facing such an impressive figure, they needed to look up to him, not try to outshine him. Wang Hao. Guan Tian frowned and sized up Wang Hao, wanting to see what this youth who stirred up the world's winds and clouds looked like. Wang Hao ignored everyone else, walked up to Qin Feng, and gave him a kick with his foot. "Hey, kid, you dead yet?" Qin Feng struggled to lift his head and coughed up a mouthful of blood. I can't die yet. Little AI is still waiting for me to fulfill a promise." Wang Hao nodded and snapped his fingers at Qian Wanyang. Qian Wanyang immediately took out a recovery potion, squatted down, and poured it into Qin Feng. Guan Tian indifferently said, "Wang Hao, this man is someone my Guan family wants to kill. Getting involved like this is crossing the line." "Crossing the line?" Wang Hao burst into laughter. "You come to my turf, beat up my people, and you have the nerve to say I'm crossing the line." Chen Yao quietly watched Wang Hao putting on airs. Everything was a mess created by the boss himself, yet in the end, the boss could still act like he was standing up for his brothers. Truly an Oscar-worthy performance, one you have to respect no matter what. "It's mutual," Guan Tian looked directly at Wang Hao. "Last time, you took people to Sophie Star and attacked my brother Guan Shi, even severing one of his arms. I haven't settled that score with you yet. Are you sick in the head?" Wang Hao laughed loudly. "This place is my territory, do you think you can leave unscathed?" Behind Guan Tian, the martial arts sect disciples were shocked, quickly surrounding Guan Tian in the middle and looking around warily. Guan Tian waved his hand, signaling that these martial arts sect members need not be so nervous. "Wang Hao, I've investigated. Your 10,000 ace army isn't here right now, and besides, I am the strongest being on this planet. What can you do to me?" Guan Tian laughed boisterously. Wang Hao shook his head and sighed. "I originally thought your brother Guan Shi was the only failure, but who would have guessed that his brother would be an idiot too?" "You?" Guan Tian was furious, his aura sweeping across the place, making everyone present shiver involuntarily. "Oh look, someone's getting angry," Wang Hao said mockingly. "Believe it or not, I will make you leave here lying down today." Guan Tian snorted coldly. "Then let's see how you plan to make me leave lying down today. Just wait and see." Wang Hao curled his lips slightly and shouted out loud, "Wife, someone is hitting me." "Xiang Xiang, your boss is getting hit." As Wang Hao's shout echoed, his voice carried far and wide, soon reaching deep into Tianbei University. Everyone on the scene was stunned. Although Guan Tian was stronger than Wang Hao shouldn't just call for help without even throwing a punch, and to call his wife of all people it was a blatant display of living off a woman. "You should know that you are the #1 talent of the Interstellar Federation, it's honorable if your life is lost, but if you lose face, you can't lift your head up again." Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the 2 younger brothers, hung their heads in shame. Their boss's style was indeed consistent as ever, as long as he could avoid fighting, he'd shamelessly throw his integrity to the wind. After all, he'd never cared for it in the first place. "Who dares to lay a hand on this young lady's man?" A frigid voice echoed through the heavens, the clouds above churned violently, accompanied by flashes of lightning and booming thunder. The witnessing crowd broke into a cold sweat, such manipulation of the clouds could only mean the presence of a martial emperor. What baffled people, however, was why Wang Hao would have a martial emperor for a wife. Could it be that he had been kept by some old witch? "I know who she is. She's not an old witch. She's from the Yaotian Federation, the granddaughter of Marshal Tiankui, Zhao Yiling, who turned 22 today." "Damn, bro, are you sure? She reached the status of martial emperor at 22. In this era, when freaks like Wang Hao exist, what's the surprise with a 22-year-old martial emperor?" "Fair point. This era is destined to be overrun by freaks. I saw this Zhao Yiling before, stunningly beautiful, like a heavenly immortal. She came to discuss a cooperation on behalf of the Yaotian Federation. Why would she come to Tianbei University to discuss cooperation and end up as Wang Hao's wife? I know this. It's said that Skyfire Company's heir, Chu Lei, was captured by the Yaotian Federation. Wang Hao saved him and even made Zhao Yiling fall head over heels for him." "Saved Chu Lei? Wang Hao? Brother, You're not joking, right? Wang Hao might be a genius, but wouldn't go all the way to rescue someone from the Yao Tian Federation, or would he? No joke. It is said that Wang Hao saved Chu Lei from prison star and even blew up the place. Damn, what kind of monster reincarnation is this? To cause such a mess and still make it back in one piece. That's why Wang Hao could become Skyfire Company's second largest shareholder. If he weren't really capable, they wouldn't fuss over him like this. Wang Hao is just too incredible. Not only did he become Skyfire Company's second largest shareholder after one trip, but he also charmed such a devoted woman. I suddenly realized that there are too many monsters out there, tough to deal with. Better to stay home and be a shut-in. Spot on. When Zhao Yuling arrived in the forest and descended from the sky, the lightning flashing around her made her appear like a thunder queen, her brilliance stabbing at everyone's eyes. Despite the dazzle, the males around couldn't help but gaze dumbstruck at Zhao Yuling, wishing they could kneel before this queen and say, "Your Majesty, please whip us into shape." Standing beside Zhao Yuling was the eternally youthful Xiang Xiang, only this little foodie was munching on a lollipop. Guan Tian's face darkened with anger as he roared, "Wang Hao, you're shameless. Calling for backup is one thing, but to actually call in someone from the Yao Tian Federation? Have you no pride as a member of the Interstellar Federation?" Wang Hao just shook his head, "Nope." Cough, cough. The people around were left coughing in disbelief. Not only was he mooching off women, but he was also unabashedly living off his enemies and feeling perfectly entitled and proud about it. The bastard was utterly shameless. Zhao Yuling rolled her eyes at Wang Hao, the little man had started his tricks again. "Kid, I said you'd be carried out lying down, and you will be," Wang Hao said with a triumphant smile. Guan Tian snorted coldly, "Wang Hao, the two federations are in a period of cooperation. If she dares to hit me, it would spark a conflict between the federations. Are you sure you can bear that responsibility?" Chapter 337. "Kid, what do you think you are?" Wang Hao gave Guan Tian a disdainful look, "I'm going to hit you today, let's see if the two federations will start a war over you." "You?" Guan Tian was frustrated. But as soon as Guan Tian uttered a word, he saw Wang Hao snap his fingers. The next second, Xiang Xiang instantly disappeared from her spot and reappeared in front of Guan Tian, then lifted her delicate arm and punched him in the face. With a bang, Guan Tian swiftly flew backwards, crashing through a dozen walls before finally stopping, visibly flying at least 1,000 meters. Seeing this, the entire place fell into shocked silence, everyone staring at this young, beautiful girl in astonishment. Who would have thought that such a seemingly soft young girl could possess such strength? After beating up Guan Tian, Xiang Xiang bounced over to Wang Hao and stretched out her little hand, "Carrots." Wang Hao flipped his hand and handed a basket of carrots to Xiang Xiang. According to their contract, not only did he have to supply Xiang Xiang with meals daily, but he also had to provide an extra basket of carrots whenever Xiang Xiang repelled an enemy. "Thank you." Xiang Xiang smiled sweetly, handed a carrot to Little White, then grabbed the basket of carrots and hopped home joyfully. Tears welled up in Little White's eyes as it looked at the carrot in its hands, thinking about how it only gotten one carrot out of a basket. How long would it take to get back all those thousands of carrots? The students present were all flabbergasted. "Holy shit, are you kidding me? What's the background of this little girl? Punching Guan Tian so far, is Guan Tian just a paper tiger? I heard she's Wang Hao's bodyguard, but I had no idea her strength was this terrifying. What's with the carrots? Are they like some sort of reward? That little girl looks so naive and silly, combined with Wang Hao being shamelessly limitless, he might really have tricked her with carrots. Damn it, as a righteous college student, I absolutely can't stand by and let this happen. That's right, I must help that little girl escape this plight. Hello, is this the vegetable center? I'd like to order a truckload of carrots." Many men on the scene had already opened their smart bracelets, ordering carrots online, planning to lure Xiang Xiang over. If they succeeded in their seduction, they wouldn't care at all whether Wang Hao would get enraged, because with such a terrifying protector, Wang Hao really wasn't a concern. If possible, turning this bodyguard into a girlfriend would make for some absolutely thrilling days ahead. But these people were destined to fail because ordinary carrots were no match for the system-produced ones. Meanwhile, Little White hopped off Wang Hao's shoulder and scampered over to Guan Tian, taking the astronomy jade necklace off him and wearing it around his own neck. However, it was too big and didn't fit its little neck, finally becoming a belt around its round, fluffy belly. Watching Little White furrow its little brows, struggling with the necklace, all the female onlookers' eyes sparkled with adoration. This little creature was simply too cute. Zhao Yuling stepped forward, took Little White in her arms, and announced its new owner, making the other women green with envy as they too wanted to hold this highly spirited rabbit. Young master. Guan Tian's subordinates saw Zhao Yuling leave, then hurriedly stepped forward to administer first aid to Guan Tian. After drinking a recovery potion, Qin Feng also revived. Qin Feng, do you now understand how important our boss is? Qian Wanyang earnestly advised, if you were a general, even if Guan Tian had 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare to touch you. I think you should quickly go and apologize to our boss. Qin Feng furrowed his brow, his instincts telling him that the sharp light greatsword was probably thrown to him by Wang Hao, precisely to frame him and cause the Guan family to trouble him, then take the opportunity to subdue him. But he thought it over carefully, even if his talent was strong, why would Wang Hao not want sharp light and use it to subdue him? Chen Yao also repeatedly urged, Qin Feng, our boss might save you once, but what about next time? If something happens to you, what about your girlfriend? Go quickly and make it up to our boss. The generalship will still be yours. This, Qin Feng was somewhat tempted, knowing without facing the threat of death, one never knows how much in this world is still worth cherishing. If it hadn't been for Wang Hao's intervention just now, he really would have died, leaving little AI in life and him in death. Qian Wanyang continued, Qin Feng, now that the Dark Elves are attacking, shouldn't you join the army to serve the Federation? Qin Feng's expression became conflicted. From the moment Wang Hao called his wife to help, he felt it was too humiliating for a man, not worth his loyalty. However, when Qian Wanyang mentioned serving the Federation and passionately fighting on the front lines against the Dark Elves, he was indeed tempted. Seeing Qin Feng's interest, Chen Yao quickly whispered, Qin Feng, becoming a general isn't for our boss but for the thousands and thousands of soldiers. Qin Feng asked blankly, what do you mean? Qian Wanyang sighed, our boss is just a child, happy to play a little longer, but no one knows when he'll be happy or unhappy. This is ridiculous. Qin Feng fumed, this simply dismissing the lives of the entire military. Chen Yao earnestly said, so, to prevent our legion from extinction, we need a deputy who gets things done. Deputy? Qin Feng paused, pointing at himself, me. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao both nodded firmly, besides you, no one else can shoulder this responsibility. Then you, Qin Feng hesitated to ask. Qian Wanyang squared his shoulders, solemnly saying, we need to devote a loyal heart to the boss, we never interfere in other matters. Chen Yao, slinging an arm around Qin Feng's shoulders, smiled, actually, once you join the Legion, all decisions, big and small, are yours to make, and when the boss seeks you out, as long as you don't disobey, there's no concept of disloyalty. Qian Wanyang whispered, let me tell you, the thing our boss hates most is starting wars, it's just trouble for him, so when he calls on you, it's just to make up the numbers, a mere formality. Qin Feng was dumbfounded, this was no marshal, but clearly a gang boss, and a neglectful one at that. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao exchanged a glance, both seeing a hint of pleasure in each other's eyes. They now had an 80% confidence that with further persuasion, Qin Feng would join the Legion, freeing them from tedious military duties to roam and reap benefits with Wang Hao. And Qin Feng, like Gu Yang, would spend their unfortunate military careers busy with endless duties. At this moment, Guan Tian was also revived by his subordinates with a recovery potion. But when Guan Tian realized that the astronomy jade necklace was missing, his expression turned utterly dark. He swore he would completely wipe out Wang Hao, that bastard. Chapter 338. Wang Hao, give me back the astronomy jade. Guan Tian's face was cold as he stared at Wang Hao. If this necklace made of 20 astronomy jades was really taken by Wang Hao, then he had no way to explain it to the Guan family elders when he returned. So no matter what, he had to get those 20 astronomy jades back. Wang Hao sneered disdainfully, you beat up my little brother, you think you don't have to pay for his medical expenses. Guan Tian was infuriated, even if he had chopped off Qin Feng's life, it wasn't worth 20 astronomy jades. You should know, these 20 astronomy jades were the entire collection of the Guan family. As for why he was allowed to wear them, it was because he was the strongest among this generation of the Guan family. Hence, the elders hoped he would quickly comprehend the unity of heaven and man in order to secure a place in this era filled with monsters. However, after he had comprehended the unity of heaven and man, to flaunt his awesomeness, he didn't return the necklace to the family, and the family didn't ask for it back either. But, unfortunately, it ended up being taken by Wang Hao. If he couldn't get it back, he would definitely be punished by the family law when he returned home, and even undergo various penalties. Wang Hao, give me back the astronomy jade, and I might overlook the theft of the sharp light by your little brother, Guan Tian said coldly. Wang Hao turned his head to look at Qin Feng and asked, Kid, did you steal someone's sharp light? That sharp light was really found by me, not stolen. Qin Feng shook his head. Besides, with my level 4 cultivation, how could I possibly steal sharp light from the Guan family? Wang Hao nodded, turned back to Guan Tian. What he said is crystal clear, he found it, so he's not in the wrong, but you did indeed hit him, so you must pay his medical expenses. Guan Tian's rage soared to the skies. Wang Hao, you are arguing fallaciously, who would throw away a sharp light sword? Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao, the two subordinates, were completely down on their knees for Wang Hao. All the bad things were clearly caused by him, yet he still put on airs as if he were upholding justice. How shameless! Talking to an idiot like you is really exhausting. Wang Hao curled his lip. Can't you see who has the upper hand in the current situation? Guan Tian narrowed his eyes slightly, glancing at Zhao Yuling next to him. He knew that with Zhao Yuling here today, getting back the 20 astronomy jades wouldn't be easy. Wang Hao, if you don't return the astronomy jade, our Guan family will definitely not let this matter rest. It will make everyone unhappy, isn't that bad? Guan Tian threatened coldly. Who do you think you're scaring? Wang Hao snorted coldly. Given what that old turtle, Guan Xingxiang, has done, we've been unhappy for a long time. He wants the astronomy jade back now? Let me tell you, no way. You, Guan Tian's anger surged, and his fists clenched with a cracking sound. What you? I'm standing right here, come and hit me if you dare. Wang Hao raised a middle finger and gave Guan Tian a provocative look. Those surrounding them all wore expressions of disbelief. Was this guy really a marshal? So despicable. Guan Tian bellowed in rage, fire the cannon. As soon as he spoke, the spaceship Guan Tian was on started operating, and its black cannon barrels aimed at Wang Hao. Dare to point a cannon at me? Wang Hao also flipped, shouting loudly, Battalion Commander, where the hell is your Italian cannon? Spit, wrong set, Qian Wanyang, where the hell is your Star Sky missile? Qian Wanyang looked confused. He was clearly a Grand General, when had he become a battalion commander? Nevertheless, he obediently took out a Star Sky missile launcher from the dimension space, which had a missile engraved with the word Star Sky on it, aimed straight at Guan Tian and the others. As soon as the Star Sky missile appeared, everyone at the scene backed away in shock. Oh my god, what does Wang Hao want to do? Star Sky missiles, this kind of strategic weapon, how did it end up in Wang Hao's hands? You idiot! Wang Hao is the second biggest shareholder of Skyfire Company. He can play with military arms anytime. Do you guys think Wang Hao would dare to fire? It's hard to say. This guy dared to fire a level 5 artillery the first day he arrived at Tianbei University. That's right, last time it was only because the principal intervened that the artillery didn't blow up. I heard that the principal and other teachers with cultivation higher than Martial Emperor have all gone to the front lines. That means, no one can stop Wang Hao right now. I think Wang Hao probably won't fire. Bullshit, I heard Wang Hao fired 3 Dongfeng missiles last time and blew up a level 4 planet alive. That joke is not funny at all. Who the hell is joking? I'm running for my life first. Wait, I'm coming too. Soon, a large group of onlooking students walked away, but many who didn't believe Wang Hao would fire the Star Sky missiles stayed to continue watching. A drop of cold sweat fell from Guan Tian's forehead, and he dared not even move his body. He knew well that Wang Hao's reputation for lawlessness had spread across the entire Interstellar Federation, and if he really provoked him, he would definitely dare to fire the Star Sky missile. Wang Hao, the Star Sky missile is so close, if it explodes, you can't escape either. Why don't we both put down our weapons and sit down for a good talk? Guan Tian capitulated, advising him in a soft and gentle tone. You idiot! Wang Hao sneered, my wife is a martial emperor, and with the energy shield, she should be able to keep me safe, right? As for negotiations, there's no chance. Everyone present felt ashamed instantly. How dare this bastard still be shameless like this? Relying on his wife when things go south, is that really okay? The women around him were especially sending Wang Hao looks of disdain. Zhao Yiling glared at Wang Hao, her fists clenched, ready to teach this jerk a lesson and make him understand that she was not a meat shield. Wang Hao turned to look at Zhao Yuling, his tone tender and affectionate. Everyone says a couple are like birds in the same forest, who fly apart at the approach of danger. Yet, I choose to be with you through life and death, never to be separated. Shameless! Scumbag! Dirtbag! The men present shouted crazily in their hearts. It was clearly Wang Hao being a freeloader and a coward. Yet in the end, he pretended to be noble, with a loving expression. Damn, the world is indeed full of strange things. But the looks from the women in the audience towards Wang Hao changed. In this era of free love, scumbags, jerks, beasts, these kinds of men are everywhere, but someone like Wang Hao, who could stoop to such unique lows, was someone they admit they had never seen before. So, even more disdainful looks landed again on Wang Hao. Chapter 339. Zhao Yuling looked at Wang Hao's burning gaze, her pretty face unconsciously blushed. Although she knew Wang Hao was spouting nonsense, she just couldn't resist this rogue's words or the melting look in his eyes. Then tell me, if one day I was killed by someone, would you grieve for me, would you avenge me? Zhao Yuling looked seriously at Wang Hao. Wang Hao looked deeply into Zhao Yuling's eyes and shook his head. I wouldn't grieve for anyone, but for you, I would become a demon and destroy the entire universe just to accompany you in death. All the men present shuddered violently. Even though Wang Hao's words were light, they packed a soul-shaking impact, clearly conveying that this wasn't a joke but rather a domineering vow. Zhao Yuling looked at this domineering young man with infatuation, her heart pounding wildly and incessantly. In this moment she realized she was intoxicated, forever lost in this man's world. And in that moment, the way the women present looked at Wang Hao completely changed, their disdainful looks turning into hearts filled with adoration. If a man could make such a vow to them, even knowing that he didn't love them, that he was a scumbag, a jerk, they would still plunge into the abyss of love without hesitation. Wang Hao turned his head and scolded Qian Wanyang, didn't you notice how hard it is for your boss to set this mood? Hurry up and launch the Star Sky missile to enhance the atmosphere. As soon as these words fell, everyone's faces were lined with disbelief. This guy indeed was shameless. No matter how serious he tried to appear, he couldn't maintain it for even a minute. Launch the Star Sky missile to enhance the atmosphere, as if it were fireworks. Qian Wanyang nodded again and again, his finger lightly touching the launch button of the Star Sky missile. Upon seeing this, Chen Yao hurriedly took out a cylindrical object and activated it. An energy shield instantly enveloped Wang Hao and the others. This enhanced 5th level energy shield device had no problem blocking the explosion of the Star Sky missile. At that moment, the Star Sky missile ignited at its tail, charging straight towards Guantian and the others. Seeing this scene, everyone was filled with terror. The bastard actually dared to launch a Star Sky missile. Didn't he fear Su Mu would thrash him to death afterward? Oh my god! Run! Wang Hao is a madman. Everyone, quickly hide behind the energy shield that Chen Yao has opened. We might only withstand part of it, but if we open our own energy shields, we should survive this assault. The onlooking students hurried to take cover behind the energy shields, praying fervently to get through unscathed. At the same time, they warned themselves to never crowd around Wang Hao in the future, because no one can predict what this rogue would do the next second. Guantian's face darkened with anger. This bastard actually launched it. Didn't he fear the major powers would enforce a weapons ban on him? No, that's not right. All the major powers were currently occupied with combating the Dark Elves, and they had no time to deal with Wang Hao. Moreover, with Jian Taifeng backing up Wang Hao, this bastard dared to be so uninhibited. At that time, the spaceship that Guantian arrived in landed in front of him, and the energy shield opened up, protecting Guantian securely behind it. Simultaneously, the city where Tianbei University was located detected incoming terrifying energy, and an immense energy shield activated instantly, enveloping the entire Tianbei University. Boom! The next second, a thunderous roar filled the heavens and earth, linking sky and ground with a gigantic blaze. Scorching airwaves swept across the land, annihilating everything destructible. Marshal, do you think we can let them in? Qin Feng tugged at Wang Hao, his heart aching for the students struggling outside the energy shield. Hearing this, the students gave Qin Feng a grateful look. Then they turned their pleading eyes to Wang Hao, hoping that as a fellow Tianbei University student, he would let them in. Wang Hao's lips curled up into a smirk as he made faces and stuck out his tongue at the students outside the energy shield, not opening the door for you guys. As his words landed, the students' faces turned completely dark, cursing vehemently in the depths of their hearts. They had never imagined someone could be so shameless. Zhao Yuling shook her head helplessly, unable to comprehend why such a genius would behave so childishly. At the same time, she felt the weight on her shoulders. She realized that raising Wang Hao to maturity, out of his childishness, might be a very long journey. After the storm had swept across the land, the once dense forest had vanished, leaving behind a desolate Gobi desert. Only Tianbei University, with its energy shield activated, stood smooth and erect upon this barren lands. Furthermore, the might of the Star Sky missile had reduced the planet housing Tianbei University to 1/10 of its size in an instant. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for disrupting Tianbei University's 1000-year peace, you have earned 200,000 sin points. 200,000. Wang Hao scratched his chin, feeling that using a Star Sky missile for 200,000 sin points was quite worth it. Oh my god! We actually survived! The students hugged each other, weeping with joy. They couldn't believe that they had survived a level 5 Star Sky missile attack. Of course, they had Chen Yao to thank for bringing out a level 5 enhanced energy shield, which blocked most of the missile's force. And it was also their own energy shields, along with their strength, that had helped them survive. Let's hurry and leave. After celebrating their post-disaster survival, the students snapped to their senses and supported each other towards Tianbei University. At the same time, they swore in their hearts never to be mere bystanders again. Meddling was just too dangerous. Guan Tian, too, had survived the explosion, though his spaceship was severely damaged and close to becoming scrap. Wang Hao. Guan Tian's face darkened as he emerged from his spaceship, his eyes emitting a murderous light. His subordinates quickly held Guan Tian back, advising, "Young master, we're outnumbered and won't gain any advantages. Let's regroup with more forces and then, we'll make Wang Hao hand over the astronomy jade. Besides, even if the astronomy jades are lost, we can find more. There is only one sharp light sword." Guan Tian took a deep breath and agreed with his subordinate, feeling that the urgent priority was to bring back sharp light. As for the 20 astronomy jades, he would take an army back to see if Wang Hao would dare refuse him then. "Hey, still daring to shout at me, looks like one Star Sky missile wasn't enough for you." Wang Hao snapped his fingers at Qian Wanyang. Qian Wanyang did not dally, quickly retrieving another Star Sky missile from the dimension space and placing it on the launcher. At this sight, Guan Tian broke out in a cold sweat, finally understanding why the major powers of the Interstellar Federation had issued warnings to never provoke Wang Hao. He was utterly insane. Once tangled with him, there was no shaking him off, and he didn't play by any rules. Disagree with him and he'd just start firing, one shot after another. The students were also terrified, wishing their moms had undergone some genetic mutation at birth to give them extra legs. Chapter 340. Wang Hao, I hope you won't regret today's decision, Guan Tian said with a sneer before turning to leave. Crash! But as Guan Tian turned around, Zhao Yuling flicked her hand, and a terrifying bolt of lightning struck right behind Guan Tian, sending him flying once again. Humph! You dare to threaten my man, thinking I don't exist? Zhao Yuling snorted coldly. Hearing this, the departing students paused, turning their heads towards Wang Hao with envious looks in their eyes. Although it was quite embarrassing how Wang Hao was financially dependent on his wife, having such a domineering, protective, beautiful, and powerful wife seemed worth it. However, clearly, they weren't fated to have such a wife. Young master! Guan Tian's followers were shocked and quickly rushed to his side, then swiftly boarded the spaceship that looked like it could break down at any moment. After Guan Tian and his group had left, the students breathed a sigh of relief. Now that Wang Hao had no rivals, they surely wouldn't resort to firing Star Sky missiles, right? Do you think Guan Tian will just give up like that? How could he? With 20 pieces of astronomy jade at stake, how could he give up? Exactly, even the Guan family can't ignore those 20 pieces of astronomy jade. That being said, if that's the case, doesn't that mean Wang Hao is in danger? What danger? Wang Hao? Do I even need to remind you who he is? That's not so certain. The Guan family, whether for pride or gain, will not just let this go. I also feel the same. Wang Hao's background is impressive, but the Guan family isn't weak either. Both sides are formidable. I guess in the end, they'll downplay major issues and simplify minor ones. Right, it's a period of resisting foreign threats, and surely no one wants to make a big fuss now. If that's the case, then I feel that Wang Hao will definitely be at a disadvantage. It makes sense. During wartime, the military department's significance is undeniable, and Wang Hao, just a kid, probably won't get much empathy. Zhao Yuling frowned slightly and asked, "How do you plan to settle this?" Suddenly, Wang Hao hugged Zhao Yuling with a morose face. "Wife, I was just trying to be macho in front of you just now, but I actually can't defeat the Guan family." Zhao Yuling froze for a moment. Was this the Wang Hao who feared neither heaven nor earth? The surrounding female beings all looked on with disdain. Where was the iron-blooded marshal? Clearly, just a shameless pretty boy living off a woman. "Don't cry, I'll notify Grandpa, and they won't lay a finger on you," Zhao Yuling quickly consoled. But Zhao Yuling was still feeling uneasy inside. Knowing Wang Hao, who had faced the entire Yao Tian Federation without fear, was it really possible for him to be afraid of the Guan family now? The surrounding males all looked on enviously. Living off a woman to such an extent, he was indeed skillful. Wang Hao buried his head in Zhao Yuling's bosom, woefully said, "I'm not afraid of dying, but I've let down the ancestors of the Wang family by not leaving a descendant for the Wang family. Wife, please let me be a filial son." "Pa, you pervert!" Zhao Yuling's face flushed as she scoffed softly and pushed Wang Hao away before quickly leaving with little White in her arms. She had thought Wang Hao was really in big trouble, but the more she listened, the more it didn't feel right. Still acting like a filial son. If there were such filial sons, I guess even the ancestors would be annoyed to life. Meanwhile, Zhao Yuling felt this jerk was getting worse, actually trying to trick her into doing intimate stuff and then having babies. Wang Hao watched Zhao Yuling leave with regret on his face, sighing, "Why do you have to possess qualities like San Kong Siade? San Kong Siade?" Qian Wanyang stood frozen in place, thinking hard, unable to associate Zhao Yuling with San Kong Siade. "You're really dumb, not even knowing San Kong Siade. Wang Hao gave Qian Wanyang a disdainful look. "San Kong is, not gentle, not caring, not reasonable, Siade is, can't be spoken to, can't be scolded, can't be hit, can't be provoked." Qian Wanyang was stunned in place, giving Wang Hao a thumb up. This leader summed it up perfectly. Zhao Yuling indeed represented San Kong Siade. Chen Yao brought Qin Feng to Wang Hao. "Boss, Qin Feng has agreed to be a general, and will follow your lead from now on." "Marshal sir." Qin Feng greeted with a salute. Wang Hao nodded, but felt a little disappointed inside. This kid agreed to join after being beaten once, depicting a serious lack of a sense of justice. They must strengthen his education in this aspect later, then send him to be beaten until his unyielding sense of justice awakens. Chen Yao couldn't help but ask, "Boss, now that Guan Tian has left, he will surely bring people back. Should we notify Gu Yang to bring the Ace Army over?" Wang Hao scratched his chin. "Gu Yang is currently building my planet, and the other 4 Courage battleships have arrived too, so there's a lot he needs to handle. Let's not bother them." Qian Wanyang frowned, "But if the Ace Army isn't here to protect you, I'm afraid Guan Tian will act recklessly." Wang Hao curled his lip. "In 2 days, it will be the competition time for the young people of the 2 federations. I'll be competing at that time, who can he trouble? But what about after the competition?" Qian Wanyang sounded a bit worried. Wang Hao's lips quirked slightly. "I've already asked Chu Lei to find me 3 bears, they should be arriving soon. Once they're here, I'll give Guan Tian 10 times the courage, and he still won't dare touch me." 3 bears. Both Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao immediately thought of the 3 brothers from the Martial Emperor. Chen Yao couldn't help but ask, "But boss, now that the Martial Emperor is on the front line, will these 3 bears come?" Wang Hao curled his lip, speaking very disdainfully. These 3 bears didn't go to the front line, claiming they wanted to stay in the Interstellar Federation to maintain world peace, which is just shameless. Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao's faces darkened. Does world peace need these 3 bears to guard it? Do they think police grow up eating free rice? And what was that disdainful look from Wang Hao about? He himself doesn't want to go to the battlefield, yet he has the nerve to disdain the 3 bears, who's more shameless here? Qin Feng looked disgusted, having very low regard for this kind who feared death. Then, "Boss, about recruiting the troops," Qian Wanyang asked. "Recruit troops?" Wang Hao scratched his chin. "What do you think about us recruiting female soldiers?" "Female soldiers?" Both Qian Wanyang and Chen Yao showed a meaningful smile. "No." Qin Feng shook his head. "Although I'm not against women joining the military, the female students of Tianbei University have never seen blood, what use would such troops have?" Wang Hao lectured with a serious face, though the female students from Tianbei University aren't fierce roses, they're young and beautiful, which is the real reason we should recruit them. Young, beautiful. Qin Feng looked angry. Was this lecherous marshal planning to cause chaos in the military? You are still too young, don't you know it's hard to recruit these days? We need to use these female soldiers as bait to easily recruit more troops. Wang Hao gave Qin Feng a disdainful look, and when the soldiers are tired, they can let the female soldiers dance to relieve some stress. This, Qin Feng frowned, thinking that Wang Hao's point seemed reasonable, but somehow he felt Wang Hao's motives weren't pure.